Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel, Superman Survival Guide. Chapter 61 Rand Group. Arriving at the car, Link opened the back door directly. Rosalind was preoccupied and looked up just before getting in the car. Suddenly, he found that there was another person inside, pointing a pistol at him. There was a silencer installed at the door of the car. Link pushed him from behind and pushed him directly forward. Link's strength was not something Rosalind could resist. Bang! The car door closed. Link walked around to the driver's seat and got in the car, then started the car and drove away. William Rosalind still recognized Frank at this time. After all, one of his eyes was blinded by this guy. "Did you kill Russell?" Rosalind asked. "Yes, that's the result for you too," Frank said. "This is for my wife and 2 children. I didn't arrange this." Rosalind wanted to quibble while thinking about how to escape. But Frank would never listen to him. He laughed hoarsely and said, "It doesn't matter. I wanted to kill you at first, but I couldn't, so I chose to leave. But you obviously don't want to let me go. It was all my wishful thinking that everything would be fine if I left." Rosalind hurriedly added, "I am just a small character. The people above think you are a hidden danger. I can't do anything about it. This was done by Russell." "Shut up!" Frank suddenly roared, "Don't try to cover it up. Think about it carefully, you can say something later. William Rosalind is not good at fighting. Frank used to be an elite Marine Corps. Although he is an agent, he is more of a brain user. Today he actually believed the other party so easily." He glanced at Link and could only see his profile. It was this guy who made him lose his composure. It was a psychological attack. He was a master. For a moment William Rosalind couldn't find a way to escape. Soon, the car arrived at a factory area and stopped in an abandoned factory building. The 3 got out of the car. William Rosalind was ready to talk, but Frank couldn't wait. He shot directly, hitting Rosalind's knee with 2 bullets. The screams echoed in the empty factory. Frank then stepped forward to search Rosalind, took out all his belongings and weapons, threw away his pistol, and began his revenge with his fists. William Rosalind was still begging for mercy, shouting, "You can't afford to offend the people behind me. Let me go, I can cover up Russell's affairs." How could Frank listen to him? The skin on the back of his hand was already cracked, but he still didn't stop. In the end, he beat William Rosalind to death. Link walked over from behind and patted Frank on the shoulder. "He's dead." Huff, huff. Frank panted and sat back. Link grabbed the back of his collar and then gently put him down, and Frank lay on the ground. This time he didn't cry, but seemed deflated. He lay on the ground in a daze with his vision unfocused. Link took out the cigarettes, took one out for himself, and then smoked it slowly. It was not until more than 10 minutes later that Frank got up and asked, "Will this cause you any trouble?" "No trouble. Although it's difficult for us to deal with the people behind him, once they find out about S.H.I.E.L.D., they will retreat on their own." Link said nonchalantly, "Okay, you've almost vented your anger. Go wash up. I'll get you a towel." Link turned and walked towards the car, then returned with a towel and threw it to Frank, telling him to go find some water. Link searched around and got some gasoline, then destroyed the body. The 2 left, and Frank got his revenge. He would be calmer, but his guilt would not be alleviated. Maybe time or a big event would change his mind. A few days later, Wilson Fisk invited Link and Jessica to a banquet again. Link was not sure what he was thinking, but he still took Jessica with him. Vanessa, now radiant, hugged Jessica first, then Link, with Western etiquette. "Welcome to you." Vanessa said, "Wilson wants to hear your opinions. He always attaches great importance to your opinions." This was just polite talk, but Link still said politely, "This is your own choice, I am just offering some suggestions." After they were seated, a waiter poured them wine. Fisk raised his glass and said, "It's a pleasure to see the 2 charitable foundations working together. Let's drink to our cause." After the 4 people toasted, they all took a sip. Fisk got straight to the point and said, "I'm planning to cooperate with the Rand Group recently. What do you think?" Link was stunned, then asked, "Why did you suddenly think of cooperation?" "This is a long story." Fisk then described the details. The Rand Group originally belonged to Wendell Rand, but 15 years ago, he, his wife, and son disappeared on a private plane. After their disappearance, the search and rescue team did not find their crashed plane, so there was no way to declare them dead, so the shares of the Randall Group were placed in trusteeship. And now, Wendell Rand's son Danny Rand is back, has proved his identity, and has taken back his shares, which is more than 51% of the shares. Harold Meacham was previously Wendell Rand's friend and partner, as well as a major shareholder of the Rand Corporation. After Wendell Rand's accident, he was in charge of the Rand Corporation. He has a son and a daughter, son Ward Meacham and daughter Joy Meacham, who later grew up and joined the group. However, at this time Harold Meacham was diagnosed with a terminal illness and later died. But this person is not dead, he is still alive, but he lives in secret and never shows up. But suddenly he appeared, and frantically looked for the hand and the meeting, and found Fisk here, but Fisk didn't know. Tell the other party truthfully that the hand and the meeting disappeared overnight, and the specific reason is unclear. You've met Mrs. Gao. The hand is the organization she belongs to. They were the ones who supported me financially before, but they disappeared overnight. Fisk's face didn't look good. After all, this matter was too horrific. He didn't even notice any control over Hell's Kitchen. It scared him just to think about it. I know some, but not all. Link said, then what? Then Harold Meacham died again, this time for real, Fisk said. It seemed that his son knew about his affair, but his daughter didn't, and they had a quarrel in public about it. But none of this matters. What matters is that after Danny Rand found out, he came to ask me about the hand and the society. Chapter 62 Deep Reasons. Link understood that Danny Rand was this generation of Kunlun's Iron Fist, but he did not guard Kunlun honestly. Instead, he ran out on his own and took back his own group. If he had not appeared, the shower he would have attacked Kunlun. Without the protection of the Iron Fist, Kunlun would be very vulnerable and would be destroyed. Fortunately, the hand and the Hui were dealt with by shield, but Danny Rand didn't know that as the Iron Fist, he would not let the hand and the Hui go. Link thought for a moment and asked, just tell him directly. This doesn't seem to have much to do with cooperation, right? It's really not big. After Danny Rand learned about my current career, he thought it was great and was willing to cooperate with me. Fisk said, I'm thinking about whether to accept it, so I hope you can listen to your opinion. Link didn't hesitate and said directly, of course I accept it. Hell's Kitchen is a huge cake, and you are just getting started now. However, discerning investors will definitely take notice, but you must firmly grasp the initiative, as capital is extremely greedy. The charity in this is your cause, not theirs, and if you lose the initiative, you lose your cause. So, the more like-minded people there are, the better, just like the Rand Group. I believe you have a good eye for people. You should be able to trust the character of Danny Rand, otherwise you wouldn't ask me. Fisk smiled and said, yes, he is young and has a conscience. He will not abandon charity just to make money. That's good. You can start with a small-scale cooperation and absorb some funds. However, the valuation should take the future into consideration. Link said, of course, I can also help you find investors, such as Stark Industries. Tony Stark is also keen on charity, for reasons of tax exemption and for his own reasons. In this way, if others want to join in, they will have to see if they have enough weight. This will be good for you. Of course, it's just cooperation now, other things can be discussed later. The last sentence is Link's reminder not to try to establish a direct relationship with him, because Stark is not an easy person to get along with. If Fisk approaches him, he may not pay attention to you. Vanessa said, I heard that Mr. Stark also likes to buy art. I can discuss this with him. No, he doesn't care about this matter at all. You can talk to Miss Pepperpotts. Link said, in the future, Stark Industries will definitely be controlled by Miss Potts. This is very important. I understand, thank you. Vanessa understood, the woman behind a successful man. Fisk was very happy. He got Link's guidance and Rostic Industries' participation. This was a huge gain. In fact, he has already felt the pressure, otherwise he would not have invited Link. Asking for opinions is actually secondary, the focus is Stark Industries. Doesn't Link understand? Of course I understand. After he joined SHIELD, he has been hanging out in New York's upper society. Although his circle is not very big, he always speaks in a cryptic way. This investment is good for both Link and Stark Industries. On the one hand, Stark Industries has expanded its business, Link can make money, and on the other hand, matchmaking helps to improve his social status. He can no longer be a professional gambler because his identity is different. His charity foundation owns 10% of Stark Industries shares, which instantly changes his social status. Why was Fisk willing to listen to him? Because of the changes in Link's identity and status. This is the path Fisk also wants to take, regardless of how fantastic Link talks about it. The deeper reason behind this needs to be thought through clearly, not that Link can really give orders. Of course, the plan is still feasible, and Fisk's current identity and status have also changed a lot. But it is not enough. After all, it is just real estate, and it is not one of the largest ones. Naturally, it is not enough to raise it too much. Maybe in the future, United Real Estate Company will become a giant, but it is definitely not good enough now. Link added, since we have decided, let's not delay any further. I will make a call first. Fisk and Vanessa did not expect that Link would call right now to settle the matter. In fact, Link just didn't want to cause too much trouble. Hey, Pepper. Lynn, it's really surprising that you called me. How is Jessica? Pepper Potts said with some surprise. She's right next to me. I'm calling to discuss investment. Should Stark Industries shift its focus to New York? Link asked. Yes, after the weapons department was closed, Tony planned to work on new energy and high-tech industries. Pepper Potts said, the Industrial Expo is about to reopen, and the Stark building has been completed, but Tony has to replan the building's energy supply. There are many R&D departments in the building. By using new energy, a lot of electricity can be saved. That's good. Do you know United Construction Company? The reason why Link was certain that Stark Industries would invest was because the focus of Stark Industries had shifted. The weapons department is on the West Coast, and Tony Stark's home is also there, but after the weapons department was closed, the development of Stark Industries needed to be readjusted. Is she the one who developed West Midtown? Pepper Potts really knew that she was much more reliable than Stark in terms of company management. That's right. Recently, the Rand Group here is preparing to invest. I know Mr. Wilson Fisk. I think Stark Industries can also invest. Link then introduced the charity project to solve the problem of poor people here. In this way, even if this place is developed, it will not cause serious social problems. In addition, the drug addicts and criminals here have been cleared out, and the gangs have been temporarily kept in check. Once the area is developed, the gangs will no longer be a problem. Neither the New York City government nor investors want gangs to cause trouble. Although they cannot be eliminated, their strength can be reduced. Pepper Potts said, that's a good project. I think it's feasible. That's good. I still have billions of funds left, and I'm still prepared to invest in it. Link had a lot of funds left over from last time, so naturally he wouldn't leave it alone. He didn't have the money to invest at the beginning, but now that Fisk has succeeded, it wouldn't be a bad idea for him to invest in it. This project is definitely profitable. Chapter 63 New Investment. After Link and Pepper Potts finished talking, he hung up the phone, then looked at Fisk and said, Stark Industries will contact your company soon, and we will conduct an investigation and evaluation. I will let the charity foundation come forward and invest in the name of the foundation. That's great. Fisk was very happy. What Link had in his hands was billions of cash, so he could develop several pieces of land at once. With the addition of the Rand Group and Stark Industries, the subsequent development would be accelerated. Link reminded, this is your chance, Fisk, but whether you can grasp it depends on you. Many problems will arise. And you need to solve them perfectly. Especially the number of construction workers. We must not affect the future balance for the sake of rapid development. Fisk thought about it, then nodded and said, I understand. I will have people make reasonable plans. It will not affect the future, and the workers will have jobs. Link's reminder is not without reason. After all, if Fisk wants to move forward now, he needs to prevent future troubles. If he pursues construction speed and hires a large number of workers, what will happen once it is completed? Link added, the area near the pier is not an ideal location for office buildings and high-end apartments, but you can consider lower-priced apartments. This is very important for your impression among the workers. Doesn't the Rand Group also have a dock? I believe they also have a lot of land. You can talk to them. Don't give up your long-term career for the sake of immediate benefits. This is a trade-off that you need to consider yourself. But Rand Corporation, Stark Industries, and even myself, we are not eager for quick success. Understood. Let me toast you to express my gratitude. Fisk raised his glass and toasted Link. The atmosphere of the subsequent dinner became relaxed. Link also asked some questions about the construction of schools and hospitals. He even asked Vanessa if there was her gallery here. After dinner, Link and Jessica said goodbye. Their car was outside and McCall, the driver, was waiting there. With Link's identity changing, it would no longer be appropriate for him to drive out by himself to attend banquets and parties. Of course, he wouldn't attend too many of them because there was no need. He wants to enjoy life instead of working for money. The work of S.H.I.E.L.D. is interesting. At the same time, he can learn about the movements of the Infinity Stones in the future. The Space Stone or the Mind Stone is what he needs. Jessica was in charge of the specific matters, and Link deposited most of the remaining funds into the account of a charity fund named after Jessica. There is not much living fund left, but it is still more than $100 million. However, the specific investment funds still need to be evaluated. United Construction Company can be said to be valuable now, or it can be said to be not very valuable. What he has the most is land, and he is seriously short of funds for development. Considering the current prices in Hell's Kitchen, it is actually not much. If calculated in this way, then Fisker must have suffered a huge loss. And if the price is raised, then this price is not easy to calculate, because it will naturally be valuable after development, but this requires investment, a large amount of investment. This matter needs to be negotiated in the end. The price cannot be decided on a whim. It certainly cannot be the lowest price or the highest price. Of course, bank loans are also possible, but that would be even more unprofitable, so people prefer to look for angel investors for their first round of financing. Link handed over full power to Jessica. The specific amount of investment and how many shares to get were not issues that could be resolved in one go. As for Danny Rand, Link had no intention of contacting him. Link now needed to redefine his identity. He could naturally participate in the card game, and circles like pursuing technology could still be maintained. But circles related to money were not acceptable. Those gamblers who pursue money are not suitable for him to contact now. He needs to move up, but his identity is not a professional gambler, but a shareholder of Stark Industries, and he is also talking about investment. Link's identity is different now. If he can't find his position, it will affect his intelligence collection. He still has to stay in S.H.I.E.L.D. At this time, problems arose with Tony Stark. This guy was unable to solve the problem of palladium poisoning and could only use chlorophyll to treat it, but the effect was not good and the poisoning was getting worse. He handed the position of CEO to Pepper Potts, and put her in charge of investing in United Construction Company. At this time, Black Widow also infiltrated Stark Industries. Lynn, Mr. Stark has a problem. Phil Coulson came to Link. Link was stunned for a moment and asked, "What's the problem?" "Poisoning. The energy he used caused great damage to his body," Phil Coulson said, "and it seems that he has not found a solution yet. Our researchers are also trying to find a solution." Link thought for a moment and said, "Then just tell him not to use energy. Isn't there shrapnel in his heart? With S.H.I.E.L.D.'s technology, is it impossible to take it out? He won't listen to our advice, that's the biggest problem." Coulson sighed, "You should know his character. Character is one thing, but life is another." Link said, "Surgery does have risks, but don't you have mastered the technique of hand and meeting? You can definitely tell him that it's at least safe, and the success rate of the operation is not low, right? The chief wants you to go talk to him," Coulson said. "Sure." Link nodded. "When should I go?" "Wait a moment, I'll let you know when the time comes." Coulson came in a hurry and left quite fast. Link shook his head. These Marvel superheroes were all psychologically fragile guys. Maybe he could just become a superhero psychologist? This is a joke. Link continues to look for his own position. What career should he pursue? It occurred to him that he didn't want to do nothing. After all, what was the point of lying at home every day? The sun was shining all the time, but there was no need to lie on the rooftop every day. He looked up at the transparent glass ceiling and the sunlight pouring down, making him feel extremely comfortable. His own strength is still growing, he has not reached his limit, although the superpowers appear very quickly, but the growth of strength has not stopped. Maybe you can learn it yourself? After all, he has a super brain, he can read very quickly, and his memory is extraordinary, which can be used to learn quickly. Chapter 64 Learning makes me happy. Link thought about studying at this time. After all, just having strong strength can indeed ensure his own safety, but he is completely incapable of both technology and magic. Let's not think about magic for now. Ancient One may know himself, or he may not know it yet. But the use of magic here comes at a price, and Link is not very interested in it. As for technology, I can give it a try. Instead of waiting for others to develop nanotechnology, why not do it myself? He did it as soon as he thought of it. He immediately started searching for information online, first on computer hardware and programming, starting from the basics. After all, the original owner studied psychology. And he also carried forward that knowledge, so he was very strong in this area. However, the original owner was not good at other aspects, especially technology, and he was not good at them before he traveled through time, so now he needs to start learning from the basics. Link looked up some books, then got up and went out by himself, found a large bookstore, and started buying books. He will start learning about both computer hardware and software to test whether his super brain is really that powerful. It only takes him a few seconds to finish reading a book, but he still bought all of them. This time he drove the 5th generation Mustang Shelby GT500, and the back seat was piled with books. When he got home, there were finally some books on the bookshelf in his study. He arranged the order of reading and started with the first entry-level book. A breeze suddenly blew in the study. After a few seconds, he finished reading the entire book and then closed his eyes to recall its contents. Link was pleasantly surprised that he remembered and understood everything. It was the first time for him to try this way of learning and he couldn't stop. Facts have proved that all human beings love to learn. The difference lies in whether they can get happiness from it. Just like Link now, he can learn any knowledge so easily, so he is happy. In just 10 minutes, Link finished reading the entire book. It really felt like flying. However, now he needed to verify whether he had mastered it so well. There was only one laptop at home, which was given by S.H.I.E.L.D. Link couldn't use it to try it out, and a normal computer couldn't keep up with his reaction speed. This gave him a headache, so he could only log on to the internet and look for some public-related papers to read. Link read it until the evening and was completely immersed in it. Most of the content was correct. He could understand it and understood it very well. He also pointed out some minor mistakes and left messages in the message board. This is also to test whether he is really correct and whether there are any problems in his understanding. The pleasure of rapid learning makes him unable to stop. "Hey, honey, what are you looking at?" Jessica was very curious. She didn't see Link after she got home, but her boyfriend's coat and shoes were at the door, so he must be at home. So she looked around and actually saw him in the study, reading papers. Link looked up. He didn't even hear Jessica coming back. It seemed that he was too immersed in the work. "I decided to study computer hardware and software first, but I didn't expect to jump right in." Jessica asked curiously, "Why did you suddenly think of studying?" "Because there's nothing to do." Link spread his hands. "I could be a professional gambler before, but now my identity and status are different, so some things are not appropriate to do now. After thinking for a long time, I suddenly realized that it would be better to study. I can read quickly and have an excellent memory. It shouldn't be difficult to study like this, just like when I studied psychology. The result is really efficient. I didn't make good use of this ability in the past." Jessica was not surprised. Her boyfriend was just like Superman in the comics, except that Superman didn't seem to have such a strong learning ability, right? She was unconsciously drawn into the plot of the comics. Ever since she knew that Link looked like Superman, she started reading Superman comics. "Not bad, maybe you can surpass Tony Stark in the future." Jessica encouraged her boyfriend out of respect. Link laughed, pulled Jessica over, let her sit on his lap, and said, "That's very possible. I've actually thought about our equipment problem a long time ago. Although we are not prepared to be exposed, there are some things that are beyond our control. Haven't you been reading comics recently? Superman's suit is very important. Although I am not afraid of bullets, I cannot resist them. I also need to find an excuse for my bulletproofness. A close-fitting battlesuit is very important, but this is reality, not a cartoon. We can't wear the battlesuit inside. So, I've always wanted to have nanotechnology." Jessica's eyes lit up and she said, "What a great idea. You are really a genius. Keep working hard. Oh my Superman." She gave Link a kiss, then got up to change her clothes and went to cook. Link needs to read the papers very quickly and reply to many authors of the papers. Some people will read them carefully, while others will ignore them. He was enjoying this, and the investment negotiations were more than halfway through and were almost finalized. All parties were interested in making this happen, and charity was the main reason. Making money became a secondary factor. With such a unanimous opinion, they directly took a middle stock price, and the market value of United Construction Company instantly soared to $50 billion US. Among them, the Rand Group invested $2.5 billion US and held 5% of the shares, the Stark Group invested $5 billion US and held 10%, and the Jessica Charitable Foundation invested $2.5 billion US and held 5%. In fact, most of the land owned by the United Construction Company was purchased with funds provided by the Hand-He Association in the past, and the cost was extremely huge. It's just that now it's all Fiskars under the name of United Construction Company. If he had developed it himself, it would have taken him decades, but now he has received tens of billions of dollars in funding all at once. In this way, there is no problem in carrying out development at the same time. He also accepted Link's suggestion and put forward the idea on the board of directors. First, the land near the dock will be used to build low-cost apartments, which will be rented or sold to ordinary workers. After all, the environment is not good because it is close to the dock. The shops here will be low-priced bars, convenience stores, barber shops, etc. It is not suitable for developing office buildings and high-end apartments. At the same time, there needs to be a public school here. Chapter 65 Charity. At this time, Fisk is only developing an office building on the edge of Hell's Kitchen. Now it can add a high-end apartment and an office building, and at the same time replan and expand the acquired hospital. In order to ensure the medical resources here, the second nursing home can be built to accommodate more elderly people living alone. The board of directors agreed with this and said that it was a very good suggestion to take all aspects into consideration while developing charity. After all investors are not aiming to make money in the short term. The Rand Group and the Stark Group will both carry out independent development, but not for commercial use, but for the development of their own groups. The Rand Group is going to build a pharmaceutical pill research and development laboratory, while the Stark Group is going to build a super factory, a fully automated super factory to produce electromagnetic reactors. Half a month later, a big news came out that Tony Stark personally participated in the Morocco racing competition. However, an accident occurred halfway through the journey and they were attacked by a man holding an electric whip. After Link saw this news, he thought that this was about to happen. Sure enough, within a few days, Link received a call. "Lin, leave immediately." Carlson said hurriedly, "I'll wait for you at the airport." Link left immediately, but Jessica did not follow him. She had other things to do, and investment was not just about giving money. Link drove all the way to the military airport, parked his car there, and then got on a small business jet. Carlson was waiting for him on the plane. When he saw Link, he asked him to sit down and said, "Mr. Stark held a party yesterday. He was partying at the party in a battle armor." Colonel Rhodes went to stop him and ended up wearing a battle armor. The two men fought fiercely, and finally Colonel Rhodes took away the armor. Link laughed and said, "Is Tony making arrangements for his funeral? Give a piece of armor to the military," but actually it was given to Rhodes. It seems that his poisoning has become even worse. Carlson nodded and said, "Your idea is similar to what the analyst said. The director will come in person this time, and of course he needs you to persuade him. Even if you don't want to have surgery, you can't continue to use the armor." Link thought for a moment and said, "He has a lot of psychological problems, especially he is too proud and conceited, which is both his strength and weakness. It's hard to change. We can only start from another aspect. This requires Pepper's help. I'll talk to them separately then." "Okay, you are an expert in psychology, so you have the final say on this matter." Carlson then talked about Ironmonger. "My armor has been modified, it's really good, but it's too bulky. But the director thinks this is a good idea. If there is a place where it can be used, then heavy firepower weapons can be used. After all, Mr. Stark's Iron Man is flexible enough, and now Colonel Rhodes's is also relatively flexible, so it's best for me to pair this with heavy firepower." Link found it very interesting. Things were slowly changing. He, the little butterfly, had finally flapped his wings. Of course, he is not a butterfly. If he really reveals his strength, he will be a hurricane. Unfortunately, Link is not willing to join S.H.I.E.L.D. because he wants the Infinity Stones, not to be a superhero. That's great. At least you have mastered a certain level of high-end combat power. Link said, maybe there will be room for you to display your abilities in the future. The two chatted and talked about life issues. Phil Coulson had just met a female cello teacher, but he was too busy with his work. Unable to balance his love life, Link had to remind Coulson that he needed to be proactive in this regard, and work was not everything. After the plane landed, there was a car waiting for them. The two got in the car and drove all the way to Stark's home. At this time, his home was a mess. Nick Fury has not brought anyone back yet, but this place has been taken over by SHIELD. Coulson and Link are waiting here for Stark's arrival. Link searched around in the ruins of the bar and found a bottle of bourbon, plum-flavored, and since there was no glass, he just drank from the bottle. He found a seat and sat down, then took out his phone and called Pepper Potts directly. "Hey, Pepper." Link greeted casually. "Lin, do you have any good projects to introduce this time?" Pepper asked with a smile. The project introduced by Link this time was good. Although Wilson Fisk had many problems in the past, the cooperation is good now. Pepper visited the place in person, especially the nursing home, and brought some gifts as a donation to Stark Industries. The nursing home is not just a perfunctory one, but is really built very reasonably and covers a large area. There are medical rooms, physical therapy rooms, activity rooms, reading rooms, etc. Not only are they very complete, but they are also well staffed. Because it bought the hospital here, the nursing home has doctors, nurses, physical therapists, etc. The rest include caregivers and handymen, all of whom are people from poor families hired in Hell's Kitchen. The elderly here have no assets. No matter how much their assets are, they are all given to the nursing home, and everything in their future will be the responsibility of the nursing home until their death. Currently, we only accept Hell's Kitchen, but the scope may be expanded in the future. This also involves the future sustainable development of the real estate industry. If some elderly people have houses, they will be taken over by United Construction, planned according to the situation, and rented, sold or redeveloped. These are all things for the future. The elderly here are treated equally. Regardless of whether you have assets to donate to the nursing home, the conditions are the same. Pepper was very satisfied with the situation here, but she also asked whether there was any supervision here. It really exists. The law firm under the Jessica Charity Foundation provides free legal aid and support to the elderly here. Pepper was very happy that they sent people to check on the situation regularly and supervise everything here. It seemed that the Vanessa Charity Foundation and the Jessica Charity Foundation were really doing something. In the future, the Stark Charitable Foundation will also join in and supervise this place, and then we can ensure that everything is safe. The next place we visited was the hospital. The hospital here was not big enough and the medical conditions were average, so it was necessary to expand its area and introduce equipment and personnel to turn it into a large hospital. After all, the future West Central City will also be home to many wealthy people, but it will also be open to the poor, so the plan is to divide the hospital into two. Chapter 66 Link's Plan. The hospital is divided into two parts, one half is specially built for the rich, where you can get the best service by paying money, and the other half is built for ordinary people, including the elderly in nursing homes. In this way, the funds of the rich can subsidize part of the medical care of the poor, and with medical insurance, the hospital can still make a profit. Link made some suggestions. After all, the American medical system is really not good. It is terribly inefficient and extremely expensive. If you don't have money, you can only endure it. It is hard to imagine that one has to wait in line for appendectomy surgery. Poor people don't have much money, so it's better to let novice doctors practice and train a large number of doctors who can perform basic surgery. This is Link's idea. After Pepper's visit, the subsequent expansion plan was naturally approved. The overall plan was to create more jobs, but the number of construction workers would not be expanded on a large scale to maintain a steady development progress. They are all developed on the edge of Hell's Kitchen, so the rental and selling prices after completion are guaranteed. Finally, we donated equipment and funds to the local police stations so that they can expand their police force and patrol the building to improve law and order conditions. We also need to support the development of the red light district to stabilize the gangs, and the red light district should also be developed separately, with one built near the dock, where it is cheap. The workers need a place for entertainment, so a red light district would be most appropriate here, while a high-end one would be built more luxuriously with greater investment for the wealthy. This aspect is handled by Fisk's assistant James Wesley, whose ability is outstanding enough and Fisk relies heavily on his help. This is why Pepper was happy. She was very satisfied with the investment project introduced by Link. No, Pepper, what I want to talk to you about now is Stark's situation. Link said, Stark's condition is very bad now. He may be dying soon. What? Pepper was in a state of panic. What happened? You know what's on his chest? It's made of palladium, which is a radioactive element. Link then introduced the situation. Now we need to persuade him, especially about the surgery. I think the only person who can persuade him now is you. Pepper didn't know what to say. When she came to her senses, she immediately said, I'll go back right away. Where is Tony? He'll be back home soon, so just come here. After Link finished speaking, the person on the other end hung up the phone. Now it seemed that Pepper was really anxious. Stark came back and saw Link. Hey, Lin, you're here too. You don't think I have a mental problem, do you? Of course there is a problem. Link said with a smile, and it's a big problem. Let the director talk to you first. I'll stay here for a few days. We'll have time to talk. Okay. Stark had no choice but to sit down and listen to Nick Fury introduce Stark's father, Howard Stark, who was once one of the founders of SHIELD, which surprised Stark very much. After receiving his father's belongings, Nick Fury said goodbye and left. Coulson also left, leaving the place to Link. Lin, you won't imprison me, will you? Stark asked. Of course not, but you'd better take a look at your father's belongings. Besides, Pepper is on her way back and she knows about you. Link said with a smile on his face. Oh no. Stark suddenly felt a headache. You told her. Yes, you need surgery now to repair the hole in your chest. No matter whether you can discover new elements or not, at least you won't die, right? Link said, you haven't married Pepper yet, you should have a child. A little Stark, maybe a daughter. Stark wanted to complain, but Link's words shut him up, and the thought of having a daughter made his heart waver. Hello, daughter. Stark took the things and went to the basement. Link also went down with the wine, gave the wine to Stark, and then stayed to run and watch. An old-fashioned film is playing. The Starks were both smart people. Tony Stark understood the clues Howard Stark left behind. Lin, what do you think it could be? According to your father, the technology at the time was not capable of this. I guess it's a new element that is in that model. Link said directly, if you can achieve this, then maybe it can solve your problem. Correct. Tony Stark stood up, I'm going to go out now. I think you should wait for Pepper. She should be back soon. You two need to talk. Link said, I'll go get your things now. You can make a phone call first. Or maybe Pepper will come and fight. She is the CEO now. Oh my god. Stark slapped his forehead. Tony. Pepper's voice came at this time. She ran to the basement hurriedly in high heels. Link said hello and left. He drove the shield car and went straight to get the model for Stark. Link arrived at the Stark Industries headquarters. Originally the largest part here was the weapons department, but now that it has been closed, it seems a lot quieter. There will definitely be some subsequent transformation, but no action has been taken yet. Link went directly to Pepper Potts' office. She is now the CEO. A lot of things in the office were sorted out, but it was obvious that they were not finished yet. Link looked at the model of Stark Industries. He took out a miniature camera, pointed it at the model and started taking pictures, capturing all the details. Only then were they disassembled and carried away piece by piece. Link came here for his own purpose, which was to get the new element hidden on the model. He was not sure whether it was useful or not, but it was a good thing, so Link naturally wanted to keep it for himself. After assembling the model, he drove away and returned to Stark's home. Link had no idea what he talked about with Pepper, and he had no intention of getting involved. In fact, he had no intention of persuading Tony Stark. Everything was just a cover-up. Stark wouldn't listen to any advice. Even using psychology would be useless. Link knew this very well. He came over and then informed Pepper about Stark. His purpose was to let Pepper delay Stark while he helped to get the model. Link was well aware of Stark's arrogance. He didn't worry at all about what others might notice, and Stark wouldn't take it seriously. Chapter 67 Target Osborn Group. Hey, Tony, Pepper. When Link came to the basement, he saw the two of them biting each other, and he had to remind them. "Hey, Lin." Pepper was a little shy, but Stark didn't seem embarrassed at all. "Lin, have you got the things?" Stark asked. Link nodded and said, "The things are in the living room upstairs. I won't disturb you. I believe you can solve the problem." "I'm going back," Pepper said, "it just so happens that I have to go to New York to deal with the expo." Link said, "Then I will enjoy the Stark Industries aircraft." "Welcome." Pepper turned around and gave Stark a kiss, then whispered, "You promised me that you would solve the problem, otherwise you will have to have surgery." "Don't worry, I've found a way," Stark said confidently. Link took a Stark Industries plane back to New York, went to the military base to pick up his car, and then returned home. He would see what was going to happen next on TV. And without any intention of taking any action, Carlson probably went to New Mexico at this time to deal with a hammer problem. Link had a completely nonchalant attitude. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. did not give him any tasks. Link knew very well that he was not on Nick Fury's trusted list. Therefore, Nick Fury will not let him be responsible for many things, and Link is willing to do so. After all, he doesn't really want to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. Sure enough, what was supposed to happen still happened. Ivan Vanko's spirit of revenge was still there. Stark arrived in time and successfully solved the problem. As for the incident in New Mexico, Link didn't get any information. All he got were the videos that some people had posted before, about a hammer that no one could lift. The news after that should have been blocked. After all, this involves aliens, and S.H.I.E.L.D. will not allow the news to spread. These were two major events, but Link did not get involved at all. Instead, he shorted Hammer Industries one step ahead and made a lot of money again. The funds mobilized this time were not large, and most of the funds previously deposited into the charitable foundation were invested in the United Construction Company. With more than 1 billion left, Link still used financial leverage. After shorting Hammer Industries, the charity fund once again had billions. The key point was that the value of Hammer Industries itself was not high. He took the biggest bite this time. Many people had previously received information that Justin Hammer had basically reached a cooperation agreement with the military, and they had all gone long in advance. This made Link earn billions of US dollars, but Link had no interest in Hammer Industries. He made the money and ran away to prepare for the next investment. He was the investment director of a charity fund. Link is going to look at other stocks. After all, Stark Industries shares are not available for purchase right now, but everyone is holding on to them because there is potential for growth. Stark himself is a living signboard. There are many large companies on the market, some of which Link had heard of in his previous life, and some of which he had not. Of course, there are also some companies from the Marvel universe that exist here. Companies like Pym Corporation and Osborne Group exist, and Link mainly focuses on these because he is familiar with them. Link was not sure which universe this was, and he could not tell, but some things would not change. The stock crash of Stark Industries happened before, so Link made a lot of money and directly improved his status and position. Now, while studying, he is keeping an eye on these familiar groups and companies, preparing to buy another batch of stocks. The chairman and CEO of the Osborne Group is still Norman Osborn. Link checked the information and found that the biological department under the company has invested a lot, but there is no name of the specific person in charge. Link logged into the S.H.I.E.L.D. database and found the name of Richard Parker. However, this man had stolen the technical information of the Osborne Group and was preparing to flee the country with his wife. As a result, the plane they were on crashed and both the couple died. Of course, the technical data they carried with them was also lost. They have a son, Peter Parker, who is adopted by his uncle Ben Parker. Link is not concerned about Spider-Man. But about the Osborne Group. Just look at its investment in the biological sector and you will know that the Osborne family still has hereditary genetic diseases. They have invested a lot in this. Link estimates that the Osborne Group is still cooperating with the military on the super soldier serum. But it was not successful. If Norman Osborn was injected with this serum again, he would probably still turn into the Green Goblin. The Osborne Group could do something about it. The Osborne Group has developed in many areas, such as medicine, electricity, military industry, etc., which is a diversified development. However, Link was not very willing to manage such a group. He could be a researcher, which required his super brain to work hard. He searched online for books on biology, medicine, and chemistry, then sorted them from basic to advanced, and made a shopping list. He planned to learn more and see how much room his super brain could be used. The only pity was that he didn't have a Kryptonian spaceship. Link purchased a large number of books and then finished reading and memorizing them in an hour and a half, which was really fast. Super speed and super brain are perfectly combined together. After looking at the books on the bookshelf, he can tell everyone loudly that he has really read them. However, this is not enough, more knowledge is needed. The best thing is naturally papers, but these papers are all on the internet, so Link can only read slowly. If he reads too fast, the notebook will get stuck. It would be great if I had Jarvis. Using holographic projection as a screen, quick reading would be no problem at all. Unfortunately, he can't handle this now. It's not a software problem. He now feels that he can write an intelligent program. It may not be as good as Jarvis, but it will be no problem to handle daily life. What he lacks is hardware. A powerful artificial intelligence requires an equally powerful supercomputer as its main body. Link has no place to build a supercomputer now. Other aspects are easy to deal with, but cooling is the biggest problem. He still needs more knowledge reserves, so he is not in a hurry now. Just learn slowly. The next day, Phil Coulson sent Link a video and then called. It turned out that it was Coulson who introduced Asgard to him. Chapter 68 Captain America. Just to let Link know the situation, the Earth is facing a lot of aliens, and they are very powerful, and it is difficult to cause damage to them with ordinary weapons. When Coulson was in New Mexico, he did not wear the armor because it was not there, and when the destroyer appeared, there was no time to transport it. It was later estimated that Ironmonger was not strong enough to cause damage to the aliens' weapons, especially since Thor could control lightning, which was even more worrying. Coulson told Link that he would go on a secret mission and would no longer be responsible for communicating with Link, and asked Link to go to the New York branch tomorrow. Link hung up the phone without thinking too much. He knew all of this and didn't care. He needed time now. It would probably take another year or two before the plot of Avengers 1 was released, right? He was actually interested in going to the New York branch. After seeing Jessica off the next day, he drove to the New York branch. Maria Hill is here, Lin, I asked you to come here because I have a mission for you. What mission? Link asked. You'll know soon. Maria Hill took Link to a medical room. Through the transparent glass, she saw that most of the people inside were wearing protective clothing, and they were surrounding a person. Only then did Link realize that this was Captain America, Steve Rogers. Was he just brought back? Steve Rogers, Captain America. Maria Hill said, we just found him, and we need to be extremely careful in thawing him. Why do you let me watch him? Link asked. After all, he has been asleep for decades. We are worried that he will not be able to accept the reality, so we are going to let him adapt slowly. Maria Hill said, come with me. Soon, they came to an open place with a huge space. Workers were building a room with background boards around it. This is a ward built in the style of World War II. We plan to let him wake up here and let them slowly accept reality. Link smiled and said, he is a soldier, and he often goes deep behind enemy lines. Do you think his vigilance would be low? I think he'll figure it out pretty quickly. No, we have made very careful arrangements, but just in case, I hope you will be there when he wakes up, Maria Hill said. Okay, but there's a problem. He's a super soldier. I may not be able to stop him without hurting him. Link gave the other party a heads up in advance. Don't worry, we have a lot of people. Maria Hill said and turned to leave, and Link followed her. I'll let you know in a few days. You can go back now. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Link left. Go home and continue studying. The thawing process is probably not too short. After all, it will take a lot of time to thaw without any damage. Nick Fury is probably very excited now. Finding Captain America and having a superhero is a huge step forward for his Avengers plan. Like Hawkeye, Black Widow, and even Link, the god of death, Captain America is more valuable and even more trustworthy. Link read the papers at home, constantly accumulating his knowledge reserves, and at the same time using the papers to test his knowledge reserves. This is a good idea. There are many arguments in the paper. On the one hand, Link can verify whether it is true and effective, and on the other hand, it can broaden his thinking. He learned things from books, but the real knowledge and experience were in the hands of the professors. He read papers to enrich his knowledge reserves and exercise his flexible thinking ability. Modern science is very subdivided, but Link is planning to study large subjects, such as physics, chemistry, biology, etc., but the most important one is mathematics. Master all the knowledge of university subjects. There are connections between subjects, and mathematics is the foundation that must be mastered. Keep buying books and quickly reading them, then reading papers. When the thesis failed to achieve any results, Link would go to the university to seek more knowledge. The bookshelves in the study were already filled with books, and Link had read them all. He felt that he needed a library. Now, he finally had some awareness of being a wealthy man, and directly purchased a library in Hell's Kitchen and renovated it to increase the space for book collection. He planned to collect a large number of books. In Manhattan, where every inch of land is valuable, even Hell's Kitchen is starting to change. Some libraries seem out of date because they cannot create any value. It would be better to sell them and build high-rise buildings. Some libraries have already been sold. After Link bought a library, he began to collect various books, but the books he collected had nothing to do with humanities. They were all scientific, including some scientific journals. Generally, library buildings are relatively large, with high ceilings on each floor. Now, one floor has been expanded to 2 floors. Although it is a bit cramped, the book collection can be more than doubled. Link hired a number of employees to classify and register all the books, and subsequent purchases would avoid the existing collections. Lynn, come to the police station immediately. Maria Hill called. Link left the library immediately. Although it was still under renovation, it did not affect his reading. He had been reading here during the day recently. He drove directly to the police station, where someone took him to the small theater, a place renovated for Steve Rogers, which Link jokingly called the small theater. Nick Fury was also there, but he was in the monitoring room. Lynn, stay quiet and go in. The doctors estimate that the captain will wake up in half an hour. You are just here in case. Understood. Link nodded, then walked in quietly. Nick Fury and his men were watching in the monitoring room. The pinhole cameras were installed very secretly. Everyone was waiting for Captain America to wake up. After a while, Steve Rogers woke up and looked at the surroundings in confusion. It was a white and clean ward with an open window with a gauze curtain drawn and wind blowing in from outside. There was a slight noise outside, and a baseball game was playing on the radio. Link's super hearing allowed him to hear the sounds inside clearly, as if everything was flawless. A female agent wearing a World War II military uniform pushed the door and walked in. As expected, an accident occurred. The baseball game was not broadcast correctly. Steve Rogers watched the game live. Is it reasonable for S.H.I.E.L.D. to make such a mistake? Chapter 69 No need to do anything. Boom! The female agent pressed the alarm and the armed agents entered, but then they were thrown out, the set wall broke, and Steve Rogers rushed out. Link was standing at the door, watching Captain America rush over, and Link said, "Do you want to meet Peggy Carter?" Captain America paused. Link never intended to take action. There was no need to take action if the problem could be solved with just a name, right? And on the surface, he shouldn't be a match for Captain America, so he might as well do it himself. Who are you? Steve Rogers remained alert. The Strategic Science Corps. Link said, "This is our predecessor, and its founders are Colonel Chester Phillips, Ms. Peggy Carter, and Mr. Howard Stark. We are now called S.H.I.E.L.D. We created this little drama because we are worried that you will not be able to accept the reality." What reality? Steve Rogers asked. Captain, you have been sleeping for 70 years in a frozen state. Link gave a direct answer, "Of course, now I can take you out and see what New York looks like today. You remember Times Square, right?" "Of course, my memory is still stuck in the past, if what you say is true." Steve Rogers agreed. "Please." Link pushed open the door. The people outside were a little nervous, so Link waved his hand and asked them to leave. Nick Fury did not bring anyone here. He left the problem to Link to deal with. After all, Link is good at psychology. Captain America was surprised by the decoration in the branch building. He looked back and forth, all the way to the front door. Link opened the door and the two walked out. The noise came instantly, and the surrounding high-rise buildings and the colors on the electronic billboards clearly told Steve Rogers that everything was different. Link led the way. Times Square was not far away and only took a few minutes to walk there. Standing here, Steve Rosti turned 360 degrees and accepted everything thoroughly. He said with some frustration, "I missed a date." Link patted him on the shoulder and said, "Take your time. People always have to move forward." Link estimated that Steve Rogers would not have a chance to travel through time this time, because with his appearance, Thanos would definitely not be able to see the 6 Infinity Stones. "I just don't know what Thanos will do. This is unknown. Whether I should fight Thanos is a question. Go back, our director is waiting for you. You need a place to stay and learn something." Link said, "But I believe it won't be a big problem. You have enough time now." "Okay." Steve Rogers was very confused now. "By the way, I don't know your name yet." "Link, I'm Asian, you can call me Lin. I'm good at psychology, which is a branch of medicine that treats human mental illnesses." Link said, "I'm also good at fighting, I'm a level 6 agent of SHIELD. But it's a special recruitment. You will gradually understand this later." As they talked, they returned to the precinct. As soon as they entered, they saw Nick Fury, and Link introduced him to them. Nick Fury said, "Welcome back, Captain." "Thank you. I'll have to trouble you with the future matters," said Steve Rogers. "This is what we should do. You've made great sacrifices, and this country owes you." Nick Fury said, "Any ideas? Like a place to live?" "Queens?" Steve Rogers wasn't quite sure of the situation. Link said, "Don't go to the place where you lived in the past. You should live in a luxury apartment in Manhattan and use modern household appliances. The fastest way to accept reality is to integrate into it, so that you can adapt quickly." Maria Hill frowned and said, "Isn't that too crude?" "No, Captain is not a baby. He needs to be carefully cared for in life." Link shook his head. In the play, Captain America has difficulty adapting to his current life, mainly because the pace is too slow. A soldier who can fly a bomber to the polar regions and make an emergency landing, a soldier who is ready to die, has a psychological quality that is far superior to that of ordinary people. Now it's a question of changing your lifestyle habits. You can't do it slowly and just replace it with a new lifestyle. In fact, it is just a change in food, clothing, housing, and transportation. There are not many other problems. Ordinary people only come into contact with home appliances and computers. It is not difficult to learn about this aspect. It would be best if he could also train with modern equipment, so that he can adapt faster. After all, he is a soldier. Nick Fury nodded, then asked, "Captain, what do you think?" "I don't know anything now, but I'm willing to give it a try. I have to live." Steve Rogers had no idea at all. He was completely unfamiliar with this world. Nick Fury finally said, "Okay, let's arrange it this way. Get the captain a luxury apartment right away. The peaceful time will not last too long, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. Link now has to read hundreds of books every day. The library has been renovated and expanded, and then a large number of books have been purchased to enrich it. This library is open to the public free of charge. Children from Hell's Kitchen can come and read if they want, but of course it doesn't matter if they don't want to. Doing charity is not about feeding people. The public security has improved a lot now. If these children are still unwilling to study, then their future will probably be away from here, because Hell's Kitchen is slowly disappearing. Just like nursing homes, low-rent apartments, etc., they will disappear at a certain time. After all, there are fewer and fewer poor people living here. With the development, every inch of land here will become valuable, the poor will gradually leave and this place will become a place for the rich. This is the case with Manhattan. Of course, some workers will stay. After all, the environment near the docks is not good, and they can live there. This process may take a while, which is considered to be kind. Link has foreseen this and he will not interfere too much. Link is now ready to intervene in the Osborn group. As his identity changes, he begins to realize the problem, that is, in the United States, status and identity are very important. Being just a shareholder of Stark Industries is not enough. If you can become the chairman of Osborn Group, that would be enough. However, his current capital is not enough to acquire the Osborn Group. If problems arise within the Osborn Group, it would be best if the stock price plummets. Chapter 70 Revised Plan. Link was constantly revising his plan. In less than 2 years, he had revised his plan several times because his identity and social status were constantly changing. From a small policeman at the beginning to a billionaire now, the process has been too fast for him and he is somewhat difficult to adapt to it. At first, he bought a house, a car, and brand name items for Jessica, but only now did he realize some problems. Those billionaires don't buy luxury goods. It's actually the middle class who buy the most luxury goods. Link is considered a nouveau riche, but he is a powerful nouveau riche. In the future he will join the Avengers and strive to obtain 1 or 2 Infinity Stones. This process requires him to hide his true strength. At most, he is just a more powerful agent. Of course, he also needs a high social status so that the authorities cannot easily manipulate his identity. He has just realized this not long ago. The purpose of my previous studies was to develop my own nano battlesuit. After all, my strength doesn't have to be exposed, but I must have the battlesuit. Both he and Jessica need nano battlesuits made of vibranium to facilitate self-protection and cover, especially since vibranium has the ability to absorb kinetic energy. Link is still hesitant about whether S.H.I.E.L.D. should disappear, but improving his own status will facilitate free choice and not be influenced by the official authorities, and that is enough. Now Link's thinking is slowly changing. This has nothing to do with the super brain, but is about politics, which he didn't quite understand before. What inspired him was the Hammer Group. Although Justin Hammer was arrested and the stock price of the Hammer Group plummeted, it still did not collapse. The military still needed it to continue to exist. Link was inspired here, and then looked at Pym Company and Osborne Group. Link chose Osborne Group because he was certain that it could treat Norman Osborn and his son. If the treatment is successful, then Link will have a competent CEO, of course, provided that he is willing to cooperate with him. In addition, Link plans to try whether Richard Parker left any message for his son. In The Amazing Spider-Man, the Roosevelt Secret Station was mentioned. Link was planning to go there and take a look. He searched online and bought a special coin online, which was used by the secret station. Richard Parker used his own genetically modified experimental spiders, and the key was a decay formula, but there may be more detailed information left out there. Link wanted to go and see if it could be of use to him, provided that it existed, of course. "Why did you think of me today?" Frank asked. "I need your help with something, let's go." He called Frank to get in the car, and after getting in, he asked, "Are you used to the work?" "It's not bad. After all, it's just a bodyguard, and your girlfriend doesn't go to messy places. The job is very easy." Frank said, "It's just too easy. Many people want to do this but don't have the chance. You can practice more often." Link said. "That driver is not simple, do you know that?" Frank suddenly said. "Yes, I checked his information. He is faking his death and getting away. There won't be any problem." Link didn't hide anything. To be more precise, he trusted Frank more. After all, they did a lot together. Frank nodded and said, "He is indeed very peaceful. He reads books every day. He said he wants to finish 100 books. This is his wife's last wish. I can see that he misses his wife very much." "I'm glad you knew that. But you are very good at choosing people." Link smiled and said, "Of course I have to consider Jessica's safety. After all, I am a billionaire now, and it is inevitable that someone will want to take advantage of her." But what about your safety?" Frank asked. "Even though you are a secret agent and have good skills, you still have to be careful. People in the underground world won't cause trouble for me. They know how powerful I am. The title of the God of Death was given to me by them." While driving, Link recounted what happened between himself and the High Table. "More than 300 lives are enough to scare everyone. Even if there are some guys, it is difficult for them to obtain my information because no one dares to tell him." Frank gasped and asked, "How did you do that?" A remote-controlled bomb exploded in a directional manner on the sand dune, directly knocking the helicopter down. Then the sky was filled with yellow sand. Link said, "Then I got close and shot them one by one. My shooting skills are very accurate, and so are my throwing knives. I've seen flying knives before, they're very fast." Frank had seen flying knives before, at Billy Russell's house, but he had never seen gun skills. But just think about it, to deal with all 300 people in a short period of time, the action must be fast and precise, which is really unimaginable. You know, continuous shooting causes recoil and consumes physical strength, especially in the desert. Soon, they came to a subway entrance. After getting off the train, they entered the subway station. However, they did not come to take the subway. They walked to the edge and jumped down, then walked forward along the subway line. Not long after they walked, they saw a closed fork in the road. Frank asked curiously, "Is there another fork in the road here? Haven't you heard of Roosevelt's secret station?" Link then bent down, crawled in through the opening below, and then climbed onto the platform. It was indeed Roosevelt Station. There was only one coin slot. He took out the coin he had bought and put it in. Frank looked around curiously and said, "What are we waiting for?" As soon as he finished speaking, there was a roar. Link turned around and looked behind him. The middle of the track cracked, and then a carriage rose up. "Oh my god!" Frank exclaimed, "I can't believe there's something like this here." Link said, "That's why it's so secretive. Let's go up and take a look." After the carriage stopped, the door was open, and Link walked straight in. There was a lot of information in a computer here. After checking it out, he confirmed that these were the things left by Richard Parker. Moreover, since it was a secret that he was researching, Link did not watch the video left by Richard Parker. He just took the information himself and left the video to Spider-Man. Regardless of whether he could find it or not, at least he left him something. Link didn't have any psychological burden because he kept the most precious video of Spider-Man. Frank actually came here to be a porter. The two of them needed to take all the things out at once to avoid having to make another trip. Link sorted out the information and packed it into 2 boxes. He then checked to see if anything was left out before leaving. Chapter 71 Prepare for Action. "So, I'm just here to be a porter?" Frank asked helplessly. "Hey, man, this is a secret operation, I can only ask you for help." Link patted Frank's shoulder, "Send the stuff home first, then I'll buy you a drink." "Okay." Frank knew that this was because Link trusted him, so he didn't ask what it was. After all, Link was an agent, and doing something mysterious was in line with his job. The two returned to Link's home. Link put his things in the study, and then came out with a bottle of good wine. The two went up to the rooftop and lay down on the lounge chairs, smoking cigars, drinking wine, and chatting about Frank's current life. Link took this opportunity to give Frank some psychological treatment. After Frank left, Link began to look at the technical information left by Richard Parker. This was complete research and development information, and Link could see it very clearly. However, in order to treat Norman Osborn, new spiders need to be cultivated, which takes time. Link must get their blood as soon as possible. Link was not in a hurry, but started thinking, trying to find a new way to treat Norman Osborn. He was not willing to let the other party have powerful strength, as that would make it difficult to control him and he would need to expose his strength, which was something Link was not willing to do. It would be best if Norman Osborn could remain a normal person after being cured, and just have his genetic disease treated. Link had enough knowledge, and with Richard Parker's information, he was confident that he could develop a new information solution. Now that he didn't have a laboratory, he could only rent one. After some searching online, I found that such laboratories can only be found in universities. Generally, group companies and private laboratories have their own projects. Of course, universities also have them, but they have more laboratories and some can be rented out. He directly contacted a university in New York, which could provide some experimental materials and experimental mice. Link could go there during the day but had to leave at night. There are other laboratories here. Link is an outsider and must not stay here at night to prevent him from stealing data from other laboratories. Link didn't mind this, he just needed to do some experiments. Although the rent was very high, Link was not short of money now. He immersed himself in experiments, looking for patients with genetic diseases in some hospitals, extracting their genes for research, and soon he came up with the latest treatment plan. Treatment is carried out by correcting the patient's genes, a plan that has been improved through Richard Parker's research. It only took a month, and Link finally realized the power of the super brain. It would be a waste if Superman didn't use it, but he would make good use of it. "Frank, come with me today." At around 9 o'clock in the morning, Link and Jessica came to the underground parking lot together, and Link called Frank. "Oh, you pay me as a bodyguard, now I want to do an additional job as a porter." Frank asked with a smile. "Okay, I won't be paying the bodyguard's salary today. I'll give you the porter's salary, paid on a daily basis." Link joked. "Forget it, just pretend I didn't say anything." Frank was embarrassed and got into Link's car. The Rolls-Royce started first, McCall drove Jessica to work, and then Link drove off. "You follow me these few days, let's go keep an eye on him." Link said, "Norman Osborn." "Hey. Frank was stunned. Agent mission? No, it's my personal matter. I want to take control of the Osborne Group and I need to start with Norman Osborne. Link said. Frank looked at Link in surprise and asked, "You want to kidnap him?" Link rolled his eyes and said, "The Osborne family has a genetic disease, and I have a cure. I've experimented with it and cured several people. This case is very rare and there is no specific medicine at present. However, my treatment method is very effective and I guarantee that it will be cured." Frank suddenly realized and said, "That's feasible." Link said, "There are naturally conditions for treating him. The situation of the Osborne Group is not good right now, and his position as CEO is not stable. So I approached him to work with me and find a way to make the Osborne Group's share price plummet. From what I know, the military should cancel its cooperation with them. The Osborne Group has a lot of problems, so it's easy for the share price to go down, and then I'll short it. Finally, I will buy the company at a bargain price and cooperate with Norman Osborne. I will own more than 51% of the shares, while Norman Osborne will continue to be the CEO." Frank asked curiously, "If you like making money so much, why do you still work as an agent? Who told you that I like to make money?" Link drove steadily and responded, "I'm not doing this for money, but for status. Look at Tony Stark. Everyone wants his Iron Man armor, but does anyone dare to steal it? Even the power of the state is not enough. This is the identity I want. And the Osborne Group's diversified investments are very suitable for me in this regard. Once the market value of the Osborne Group exceeds 200 billion, then I will have the same status as Tony Stark. Do you understand?" Oh, Frank understood this time that what Link cared about was not money but identity and status. In this way, he can do whatever he wants most of the time without being constrained by the government. Link must have his own secrets, which Frank can clearly feel. I don't know what it is specifically, but Link's rise is too rapid, it's really unbelievable, and he is not really involved in the real industry, he is mainly involved in finance. There was no capital to interfere in this regard, and Link seized the opportunity to buy shares of Stark Industries, which was the key. "I see. So what should we do now?" Frank said. "Keep an eye on him and observe the security forces around him. After we have a clear understanding, we will sneak into Osborne Manor at night." Link said his plan, "I need to secretly obtain his genetic sample. At the same time, make a deal with him to ensure that he will not go back on his word and treat his son first instead of treating him first. The genetic disease runs in the Osborne family and his son also has it." Frank nodded slightly and said, "That's easy. We can go in tomorrow night." The two men finalized the plan and then came to the Osborne Group building to observe outside. Norman Osborne was a workaholic, or he was racing against time, especially after Richard Parker escaped. Chapter 72 Abnormal Meeting. To be honest, Link looked down on Richard Parker. This man had character problems. He joined the Osborne Group with his good friend Dr. Kurt Connors, and was responsible for the cross-species gene transplantation project, especially Kurt Connors, who wanted to regenerate his own severed arm. The Osborne Group provided the money and equipment, while Kurt Connors provided the manpower, and there was also investment from the military. Richard Parker succeeded in his research and development, and he used his own genes to complete the research, which no one else could use. Then he ran away with the results. He cheated the Osborne Group and Dr. Kurt Connors, and finally the Osborne Group lost the military's research and development funds. Norman Osborne was out of options. On the one hand, he had a genetic disease, and on the other hand, he was kicked out by the board of directors. He was left with no other options and used the unfinished enhanced serum himself. Thus, the Green Goblin was born. Peter Parker inherited his father's legacy, became Spider-Man, and finally killed the Green Goblin and later Harry Osborn. The Parkers are naturally nemesis of the Osborns, and no matter how you look at it, Richard Parker is unreasonable. His reason was that the Osborne Group wanted to sell the research results, which sounded unreliable. The purchasing power of the US military alone was enough for the Osborne Group to make a lot of money, especially in terms of stock price. How much can you get if you sell it secretly? This is a long-term business, and the Osborne Group doesn't even know that he has successfully developed the technology, so how can he sell it? This fundamentally does not make any sense. Richard Parker's identity is not simple, and it is even more strange that he is going abroad with technical information. The Osborne Group didn't know he had succeeded. But he was intercepted on the plane, and the news was leaked. If you think about it carefully, you can conclude that Richard Parker is not a good person. Link took away his technical information and left a video for his son. This is considered kind, otherwise he would have smashed everything. The two monitored for a whole day, and after Norman Osborn left the group building, they followed him all the way to Osborn Manor. Afterwards, he observed outside and looked for various security systems. Link used his X-ray vision to observe all the lines and already had a complete security deployment in his mind. The two then left and had a meal outside, and then Link sent Frank home before returning to his apartment. When Jessica saw Link coming back, she stepped forward to help him take off his coat and asked, "What are you busy with?" "Busy making money." Link then expressed his thoughts on wanting to control the Osborn group and other things, including the reasons. After listening to this, Jessica asked in confusion, "Why do you do this? Aren't you an agent of SHIELD?" Link said, "SHIELD is not so stable. I feel there are some problems inside. Just like I have collected a lot of intelligence before, the funds involved are huge. However, the whereabouts of these funds are unclear. Things are not so quiet inside SHIELD. Besides, you know we are special, so we must have sufficient identity and social status. In this country, money means everything. Especially the big groups. After taking over the Osborn group, I will develop some things. You know I have a strong brain." Jessica said with some concern, "Will you be in trouble in the future?" "What's a problem for me?" Link smiled. "At most, our strength will be exposed. By then, it won't be us who will be afraid, but others. After all, everyone has read Superman comics. If a real Superman appears, will they be scared?" Jessica laughed and said, "That will be interesting." The next afternoon, Link and Frank came to the outside of Osborn Group again, waiting for Norman Osborn to come out. This guy was not the kind of person who would leave work on time. It was past 8 o'clock in the evening when Norman Osborn came out this time, with only a driver driving the car. Driving him back to Osborn Manor, the car drove in. Link and Frank parked the car nearby, then got out and walked over. The two of them observed from outside and found that there were not many security guards, but the security system inside was the most advanced one available. Link was in a blind spot in the surveillance camera and just flipped in, followed closely by Frank. Frank followed Link's footsteps and moved forward, their pace sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Link was comparing the moving surveillance cameras, which also included hidden cameras. In this way, we came directly to the side door, which was the passage used by the servants and was not locked at all. Wearing gloves, he opened the door and walked in, then took a few detours and entered the study. Norman Osborn was sitting in the kitchen at this time. He had not had dinner yet, so the chef made a simple meal for him. He is not a picky person because he has so little time, and after Norman Osborn escaped from Richard Parker, he is now paving the way for his son. But his son also has a genetic disease, which has become a huge mountain weighing on his heart, making it hard for him to breathe. His own son still cannot understand him, and he does not want to put any pressure on his son. But what if you fall down? He is under too much pressure now. After eating a quick meal, he walked towards the study, pushed the door open, closed it, and turned on the light. Norman Osborn saw two people, one of whom he knew. Link is no longer an unknown person. Although it is the Jessica Charitable Foundation that holds shares of Stark Industries, how could Norman Osborn not find out about it? Stark Industries and Osborn Corporation are in competition, such as military orders, and there is also competition in the fields of medicine and energy. "Mr. Osborn, don't panic," Link said with a smile. "Mr. Lin." Norman Osborn had indeed seen storms before, and he remained relatively calm. "Yes, I came here to discuss cooperation," Link said. "Why don't we go to the company to talk?" Norman Osborn asked. "It's simple, because the premise of cooperation is that I can cure your family's genetic disease." Link then took out a piece of paper. "These are several experimental subjects. They all have the same problem as you, but they have been cured. You can investigate first, here's my phone number at the end." Link put a piece of paper on the desk. Norman Osborn's pupil shrank. This sentence shocked him the most. Can it really be treated? He hurriedly picked it up and took a look. It was full of names and the hospitals where they had been treated. Norman Osborn looked up at Link with a complicated look in his eyes. Can the disease that he was worried about really be cured? Chapter 73 Waiting. If you confirm, then I can treat one of my sons first, but you need to give me a genetic sample today. Link took out a syringe for drawing blood with a metal seal and placed it on the desk. So what is this collaboration about? Norman Osborn asked. It's about the Osborn Group. Richard Parker's escape and death caused his research and development results to disappear forever. Link said, the situation of the Osborn Group is very bad now, and I need it to be even worse. It allows me to short sell and then buy the bottom so I can take control of the Osborn Group. Of course, I still need you to be the CEO. Later, I will hand over more technologies to the Osborn Group to develop the group. I need Osborn Corporation to reach the heights of Stark Industries. Norman Osborn frowned, thought about it, and then said, I can pay for treatment, but the Osborn Group does not belong to one person. There's no rush for this. Link smiled. As far as I know, the military will soon cancel its cooperation with you, and I estimate that you will be kicked out of the board of directors. We can talk about it later. Now give me your gene sample. This is the therapeutic injection that needs to be developed based on the gene sample. Once you're sure there's nothing wrong, I can treat your son first, and then we'll see. Norman Osborn nodded, then picked up the seal, took out the syringe and drew his own blood. He was also a technician, so drawing blood was not unfamiliar to him. Then he sealed it again and handed it to Link, who waved his hand and led Frank to the door of the study. He suddenly turned around and said, Come out in 10 minutes, and don't make any noise. After saying that, Link opened the door and walked out, still leaving Osborn Manor with Frank. The two men returned to the car, stared for a while, and found that Norman Osborn did not move at all, then drove away. In fact, Link didn't need to bring Frank with him at all, but he brought him here specifically to show Norman Osborn. Link is very famous in the underground world, but he is alone. In order to prevent Norman Osborn from having any ideas, he brought Frank here specifically. If Norman Osborn was interested, it would be easy to find out some things, such as Frank's service in the army and some things that happened in New York later. These were not difficult for him, and this showed that Link was not alone. In addition to his own combat capabilities, Norman Osborn needs to think twice even if he wants to do something. Link didn't want to fall out, he was still counting on Norman Osborn to help him manage the Osborn Group. The reason why he wanted to get more than half of the shares was so that he could remove the CEO of the group at any time, which would be safe. Link covets the Osborn Group for the sake of social status, and of course he will not hand over the initiative. Even if he is unwilling to manage the group, the manager must be under his control. Norman Osborn sat in the study, looking at the list left by Link. He was very excited, as he could finally get rid of the nightmare. However, he was unwilling to hand over the group. But compared with his life? He was weighing the pros and cons. After all, his own group was also researching super soldier serum and cross-species gene transplantation technology. Thinking of this, he began to resent Richard Parker again. But Norman Osborn himself is really good. He did not transfer his resentment to Peter Parker, and even admired the kid. In fact, it is not difficult to copy the super soldier serum. The hard part is to find another Steve Rogers. Link has analyzed it before. For example, Howard Stark once copied the serum. If we talk about who knows the serum best, besides the inventor Dr. Abraham Erskine, it is Howard Stark. After all, he also contributed to the birth of Captain America, and he was there, so they must have communicated with each other. The super soldier serum used by the Red Skull was created by the Doctor, so why did it fail as well? This is a psychological problem, not a problem with the serum. There is no way to find the saint of Captain America. Even if the lazy duck-necked Dr. Erkins didn't die, it would be difficult for him to create another Captain America. Why did he choose Steve Rogers? It is because of his character that he has a strong heart despite his weak body. This is the key. Norman Osborn didn't know all this. He was still thinking about the group's super soldier serum and whether it could be used for living experiments. If I succeed, I naturally won't need to be coerced by others. If I fail, I will have a way out. The key is that my son doesn't need to wait for death. He had mixed feelings in his heart. Looking at the list in his hand, he could not wait for dawn, so he did not sleep all night. I specially accompanied my son to have breakfast in the morning, and then sent him to school. The Rolls-Royce I was riding in did not drive to the school gate, which was my son's request. As soon as he arrived at the group, he couldn't wait to make a few phone calls and find someone to help him check the situation. It was very easy to check, it was not something secret, and I got a reply very quickly. It was true that these people all had genetic diseases. And someone had found them before and was willing to treat them for free. The only difference is that the other party is not a hospital or a pharmaceutical group, but an individual. These people agreed to try it out as it was a last resort. After all, the medical expenses were so high that even the insurance company would not reimburse them because it was a terminal illness. As a result, the patient was cured. When he went back to the hospital for examination, the attending doctor was very shocked. Norman Osborn had an idea in mind, so he asked his men to continue watching to see if these people were really healthy. Link was not in a hurry. He used the laboratory to study the genes of the Osborn family, and then made therapeutic injections that targeted the genes. Each family has a different treatment formula for its genes, but there is a basic formula that Link has perfected, and it can treat all genetic diseases. This will also be a foundation for the Osborn Group in the future. He did not give up the lease of the laboratory and is preparing to continue his research. Gene therapy is based on Richard Parker's research, and he is now going to conduct his own research and development. The Osborn Group's main business is medicine and biology, and its military industry is mainly based on soldier serum. Its weapons department is responsible for the research and development of individual soldier equipment. But the results were not ideal, and Link estimated that problems would soon arise. Although it was unclear what universe it was, Peter Parker had only just entered high school. According to the time calculation, what happened to the Osborn Group should have happened before the Chitauri attacked. Chapter 74 The incident happened. Link didn't have any mission, so Coulson still asked him to collect intelligence. Link guessed that Nick Fury's focus was on Captain America. Under normal circumstances, I should have gone to check out the situation and provide psychological counseling to Captain America, but I didn't. It's probably still a trust issue. Nick Fury is probably also worried that his psychological abilities are too strong. Link had nothing to do and was doing experiments quietly. He developed drugs very quickly and they were all effective. In addition, he was studying nanotechnology, and with the continuous addition of various disciplines, his knowledge level was getting higher and higher, and Link was becoming more and more satisfied with the super brain. The thinking is too fast. The cells are strong enough and the speed is fast, so whether it is learning or thinking, the word is fast. This makes him successful in his studies. What limits him now is the basic knowledge of various subjects, which is the most critical issue. If he could go to outer space to study, he would be stronger in science. This may not be impossible. Maybe in the future he can go to Asgard, where they have accumulated a lot of knowledge. However, Asgard seemed to have only grown muscles and believed that its military force was powerful. Its defense was almost useless. Its palace had only one shield, and it was very slow to build up. Although the defense was strong, the internal protection was insufficient and was directly broken through by the Dark Elves. Find a chance to go there. As Norman Osborn had been waiting, representatives from the military finally arrived and first watched the test of the flying skateboard. General Sakam, who led the team, was not very interested in it. He then inquired about the progress of the super soldier serum. During the experiment, some mice had gone berserk. Norman Osborn tried his best to explain, but General Sakam did not support these studies at all. What he cares about is the space project. If the Osborn Group cannot come up with something better today, the military's research and development funding will be cut off. This is not just a matter of money, but also a major event that will affect the market value of the Osborn Group. Norman Osborn tried his best to get it, but to no avail. Link had told him before, and now it was confirmed, that the military was now ready to invest in Exploration Space Company. The matter subsequently fermented and all major media outlets reported on it. Norman Osborn took a look at the contents of the newspaper and felt no emotion. Will the board kick itself out? In fact, it doesn't matter anymore. The research and development of the super soldier serum was not successful, and we have to go back to the formula stage and start over. There is no point in researching it anymore. There is no cure for his disease, so his last hope lies with Link. He took the initiative to call Link. Mr. Lin, do you have time to accept my invitation to have dinner together tonight? Of course, I've been waiting for Mr. Osborn's invitation. Link smiled when he received the call. I will bring my girlfriend with me. In the evening, Link and Jessica dressed up and attended the event invited by Norman Osborn. They were relatively low-key and tried to avoid reporters. Welcome. Norman Osborn took the initiative, and then Link introduced him to Jessica, and the three of them sat down. Link took out a sealed tube, handed it to Norman Osborn, and said, "This is for the treatment of the young master. Just inject it when you get home." A low-grade fever will appear. This process will last for 24 hours, and simple physical cooling will suffice. Thank you. Norman Osborn took it, looked at the metal seal, and did not open it. Then he said, the military's investment has been withdrawn. They are not interested in the research of the Osborn Group. I heard that there are a lot of reports in the media now, and they are indeed well informed. Link smiled, so what plans does Mr. Osborn have for the future? Call me Norman. Norman said, I believe we will have a pleasant cooperation in the future. Of course, Norman, you can call me Linear. Link understood that the other party agreed. Lin, what are your future plans for the Osborn Group? Norman asked. Link began to explain his plan. First, we want to get back the shares. Of course, I will give you a batch of medicines, including the formula of gene therapy injections, and a batch of special effect drugs. Then I will bring in Stark Industries. Their weapons division is shut down, and I hope to convince them to take a stake in Osborn Corporation. Of course, if that doesn't work then we can buy it. Medicine and weapons will become the two main pillar industries of the Osborn Group, and then some departments will be cut off, such as the energy department, which will be sold directly. Because Tony Stark will develop new energy next, and we can't compete in this area. Norman Osborn nodded slightly, this was a good idea. Link continued, then invest in United Construction Company. I believe you have heard of it. By joining forces with Rand Group and Stark Industries, our strength will be even stronger. Especially the stock price, it won't be a problem for the market value to break through 200 billion. Norman Osborn laughed and said, Lin, you should take charge of the Osborn Group. No, I don't like to do too many things. What I care about is the status that Osborn Group brings me. Link said, I have other things to do and need the same status as Tony Stark. This makes it easier for me to do things. Norman Osborn was stunned. He could never have imagined this. Link smiled and said, money is not important to me. I am not a capitalist. I don't need to pursue profits endlessly. This is not necessary. As long as there is enough money, it's fine. I don't have any aspirations in this regard, so you can easily manage the group without worrying about being responsible to the board of directors. Norman Osborn nodded and said, well, it seems I have to continue to work hard. After dinner, the two sides went their separate ways, trying to conceal their whereabouts as much as possible, and discussed the follow-up plans during the trip. It is not difficult to suppress the stock price of Oscorp, because many secrets are in the hands of Norman Osborn, so it is not difficult for him. Especially at this time. Back home, Norman Osborn called his son over, then took out some medical supplies and gave him an injection. Dad, what is this? Harry Osborn asked after the injection. This is medicine. Norman Osborn sighed, and then told about his family's genetic disease. Son, there is finally a medicine that can treat it. I dare to tell you now. Chapter 75 Take Action. Norman Osborn told his son about the genetic disease of the Osborn family, which meant that no one in the Osborn family would live long. He founded the Osborn Group to focus on the development of biology, medicine, and other aspects in order to treat his family's diseases, which was a huge burden on his heart. And today, there is finally medicine to treat it. I've asked for leave for you. After you use the injection, you will have a low-grade fever for 24 hours. That's the result of your genes being repaired. Don't worry. Norman Osborn looked kind and touched his son's head. No one in the Osborn family will die from genetic diseases anymore. Dad. Harry Osborn was really shocked. Did you use it? Yes, son. I used it. Norman Osborn would not tell his son about the trouble. Well, go to bed early. Don't think too much. Everything will pass. You will feel much better after a good sleep. If you feel comfortable, call the butler and use physical cooling. No medicine is needed. I understand, Dad. Harry Osborn went back to his room. What he had just heard had a great impact on him, but he soon fell asleep with a slightly hot body. Norman Osborn has already understood it in detail. This is the case for everyone who has used the injection, and no problems have occurred so far. Moreover, he also spent money to have the hospital invite these people back for follow-up visits and conduct comprehensive physical and genetic examinations. Otherwise, how could he dare to use it on his son? Of course, he could also use it for himself, but he didn't dare to take the risk. What if something unexpected happened? After all, it is not so easy to suppress the stock price of Osborn Group. He discussed it with Link for a long time today. Strictly speaking, this is a violation of securities trading regulations and is an internal operation. It's just that Norman Osborn sacrificed himself for the benefit of others, damaging his own interests to benefit Link. Jessica and Link return home and McCall and Frank leave. After Jessica went upstairs, she asked, "Will Osborn cooperate with you?" "Of course, although he will also suffer losses, he will earn more when the stock price appreciates in the future." Link said, "You know I have been studying recently, and I also rented a laboratory at the university. I have researched a lot of special medicines. Once they are launched, they will definitely be a big hit. You know American medicines, they are very deceptive. My medicine is the most effective. Of course, this will make doctors earn much less, but it doesn't matter. I can still make money by exporting it, and it is more beneficial to patients. Link doesn't want to help the people here, and it's not wise to go against the entire medical system. If you don't open it, I will export it, and I won't charge a high price. After all, everyone may get sick, and the pharmaceutical business will never have trouble selling. I'll just develop more. Anyway, the super brain is so useful now, Link doesn't mind creating another character for himself. However, this matter will be kept secret for the time being. He only needs social status and does not need the title of genius for the time being. When the need arises, he can just expose Norman Osborn." Jessica asked, "Is it a big medical problem?" Link rolled his eyes and said, "Isn't it difficult? Medical insurance interferes with patients' treatment plans, and doctors prescribe drugs not based on the condition of the patient, but based on the benefits given by the pharmaceutical representatives. There are more problems than we know." Jessica didn't know any of this. She was just an ordinary girl except for her great strength. Norman Osborn then began to act. Now there were some voices in the board of directors, but he didn't care about it at all. He didn't try to win over the shareholders, but secretly gave some information to Frank. Frank became the liaison between Link and Osborn, and Link secretly sent the information to the media. Then, negative news about the Osborn Group began to leak out. The first was the escape of Richard Parker. A huge amount of research and development funds were invested and success was on the verge of happening, but the developer ran away with the information. When they were on the plane, they encountered a plane crash and it was impossible to recover the data. The Osborn Group's investment was wasted. Secondly, the military's withdrawal of investment caused the Osborn Group to lose military research and development funds. Finally, it was revealed that Norman Osborn had health problems and that the Osborn family had a hereditary genetic disease. These three are big news, and then there are some gossips that the electric eel power generation developed by the energy department of Osborn Group will be inferior to the electromagnetic arc reactor of Stark Industries. The scandals of the internal directors also made the headlines in the gossip newspapers. The share price of the Osborn Group plummeted and a board meeting was immediately convened. Norman Osborn was furious, thinking that someone had betrayed the group's secrets. After all, he himself had suffered huge losses. And no one else would suspect him. However, his anger immediately caused panic among the board of directors. Everyone began to distrust each other, and the board of directors was split in an instant. Link had already used financial leverage to enter the market and short the Osborn Group. He will make more money this time because the rhythm is in his hands. Of course, he got the biggest bite of the pie. He had made billions of dollars by shorting Hammer Industries before, and now he had more capital, so he shorted more. Financial institutions holding shares of the Osborn Group suffered heavy losses, and what they would get back later would be a bunch of cheap stocks, while Link made a fortune. There is still follow-up news. The biggest problem of the Osborn Group is that there is no good news. The project in which they invested the most has completely failed. Now the group has not come up with any valuable good news. This hit their soft spot, and all of a sudden the Osborn Group gained strength and collapsed. As the stock price plummeted, investors directly sold their stocks. Some shareholders were also shaken, and some financial institutions even negotiated directly with Link, hoping that he would directly purchase these shares. Link is not a sucker, so he simply ignores it. Norman Osborn will not rescue the market, and he will not acquire it now. So the two of them joined forces and watched the stock price fall all the way to $3 per share, almost becoming a bargain. Link then closed his position and returned the stocks, including interest, before sending a representative to discuss the purchase of the stocks. He did not acquire the company immediately, but instead sent separate people to negotiate, with Matthew Murdoch responsible for the legal aspects of the transaction and people from Jessica's charitable foundation responsible for the acquisition. More than a month later, just when people thought that the Osborne Group was going to go bankrupt, the Jessica Charitable Foundation suddenly announced that it had completed its control of the Osborne Group, with a shareholding of more than 67%. Chapter 76 Acquisition. Anything over 5% needs to be reported, so Link made the acquisition on the same day and took full control of the Osborne Group. Of course, he will not hold these shares in his own hands, but will bring in some beneficial partners, such as Stark Industries. He hasn't discussed this matter yet, but he thinks it won't be a big problem. However, it's not possible now because various drugs still need to undergo biological and human experiments, which need to be reported to the Drug Regulatory Agency and then obtain a license before they can be sold. Jessica, as the head of the foundation, held a press conference. This kind of press conference has been held several times, so Jessica was not nervous. She is now considered a celebrity in the United States and a woman who controls a charitable foundation with tens of billions of assets. Just 10% of Stark Industries shares are worth more than $20 billion. The new energy project has not yet been fully implemented, and we are waiting for the renovation of Stark Tower to be completed. In addition, 3 more buildings are included in the plan, and Stark Industries' stock price will surely soar again by then. Next is the 8% stake in United Construction, which is also worth billions of US dollars. The foundation also has a large amount of funds, which has not been announced yet, but this acquisition can show some strength. Ms. Jones, what is the purpose of the foundation's acquisition? A reporter asked. The foundation has been committed to legal aid charity, and now we will get involved in medical charity. Jessica said, the Osborne Group has developed in biology and medicine. Although it is facing difficulties now, its foundation is still there. Also, our foundation has been prepared for this and has developed more than a dozen special medicines. Although it has not been reported yet, we will conduct biological tests and clinical human tests through the channels of the Osborne Group. The Osborne Group has sufficient capabilities in these areas and can complete the data collection as soon as possible. Once approved, all data will be put on the market for sale. Another reporter asked, "Excuse me, are you confident that you can solve the internal problems of the Osborne Group?" Of course, as the owner of a charitable foundation, Mr. Lin has been injecting a lot of funds, and the research and development of drugs has already begun. Jessica said, if we are not sure enough, we will not acquire shares in Osborne Group. After the foundation takes over, it will increase its investment in charity, especially in medical care. Someone immediately asked, "Excuse me, was this acquisition planned?" Mr. Lin is good at investing. The previous acquisition of Stark Industries shares and the current acquisition of Osborne Group were all decisions made by him. Jessica explained, his vision has always been accurate and in line with the development of the foundation. When we first started providing legal assistance, we acquired a law firm that shared the same ideals. The subsequent investment in United Construction Company, which developed West Midtown, is consistent with Mr. Lin's investment and philanthropic philosophy. It's the same now. With sufficient funds, Mr. Lin has invested in drug research and development. The press conference went smoothly because Link and Jessica were lovers, neither of them had any gossip, and they rarely appeared on camera. They seem a little mysterious, and everyone is curious about these mysterious billionaires. Some subsequent questions about her private life were ignored, and Jessica finally announced that Norman Osborn would continue to serve as the group's CEO, while Link would serve as chairman. The matter has come to an end for the time being. Osborne's stock price has only increased slightly today. It has not risen, but it has not continued to fall. At this time, Norman Osborn and Link are still buying some scattered shares. The two of them are preparing to completely acquire all the shares, and of course they will not delist. Most of the shares on the market had been acquired by them, and Link then brought Jessica to the Osborne Group. There were only Link and Osborn on the board of directors. Link sat in the main seat and kicked his feet, turning the chair around. It's a very interesting position, but I don't like it. Norman Group is left to you. Link looked at the other party and said. Of course, I will take care of it. Then what happens next? Norman Osborn didn't finish his words, but the meaning was clear. Link opened the briefcase he brought, took out an envelope from it, handed it directly to the other party. And then took out the contents of the briefcase one by one. These are all the information about special medicines. You can have people conduct biological experiments, then report to the regulatory committee, and finally conduct human experiments. Link said, I believe you know this process. As more and more effective drugs pass testing and are launched on the market, the stock price will surely rise as news is released. Meanwhile, dispose of the other departments and only keep the pharmaceutical-related ones. When the stock price goes back up, I will talk to Stark Industries. Norman Osborn said, so, what about the flying skateboards and combat equipment we developed? Link touched his chin. This seemed to suit him very well. Keep it and prepare another testing site. I will do the testing myself when the time comes. Norman Osborn was stunned and asked, is this appropriate? My title is the God of Death. Link smiled, this thing might be suitable for my battlesuit and flying tool, so I want to try it myself. Of course, the suit may not be suitable, but it can be modified later. The key point is the flying skateboard. If it can be replaced with Tony's energy source, it will be amazing. Norman Osborn's eyes lit up, but then he realized that Link could obtain this energy through personal connections and use it on his own flying skateboard, but it would not be sold as a commodity to the Osborn Group. Okay, I'll arrange it as soon as possible. If any changes are required, you can let me know and I'll ask someone to make the changes for you. Norman Osborn didn't care about it. Link said, don't promote these things for now. They're not for sale. Wait and see if we can acquire the weapons division of Stark Industries, especially the talent. Okay, now you have the final say. Norman Osborn nodded. No, you have the final say. After we leave, this place will be handed over to you. Take a day off and get your illness treated first. Your condition should be getting worse. After Link said this, he left with Jessica. Norman Osborn excitedly opened the sealed tube, looked at the injection inside, and sealed it again. He took the information to the head of the medical department and at the same time increased the security level. The incident involving Richard Parker must not happen again. Chapter 77. Not very satisfied. No one is stupid. Norman Osborn is still the CEO. Many people who had sold their shares before immediately realized that this was premeditated. Not to mention the several major events that caused the Osborn Group's stock price to plummet, some of the dirty things within the group were actually made public, and the information must have been provided by someone on the board of directors. And now it seems that it is Norman Osborn who is still very angry. Of course, the one who suffered the greatest loss is Norman Osborn, and no one suspected him at the beginning. I still can't understand why he had to bear such a huge loss. Just for a dozen or so special medicines that haven't been tested yet. This is unrealistic and very uncapitalist. The shareholders who sold their shares couldn't figure it out, but it didn't matter. They believed that the Osborn Group had been defrauded, that there was an inside story, and that it was a malicious short selling. But there is a problem, they have no evidence, so there is no way they can win even if they sue. Some people are not convinced and want to do something, but Norman Osborn is not a good man and is not someone who can be easily messed with. Well, why not target Link? After all, this guy rose too quickly and had no background. So they conducted an investigation and were shocked to find that this guy was even more difficult to deal with. Unknown to Link and Norman Osborn, they had survived a minor crisis and the transition of the Osborn Group was going very smoothly. The group was split into several parts, and the originally diversified business model only retained the biology, medicine, and weapons research and development departments. Afterwards, we devoted all our efforts to conducting biological experiments on the special effect drug on a large scale. The data we obtained were very encouraging. We believe that we will be able to report to the regulatory committee and apply for human trials soon. At this time, Link came to the testing site of the Osborn Group. A flying skateboard was ready for him, and Norman Osborn introduced it to him. The flying skateboard is equipped with 2 machine guns and 2 missiles, and has spikes that can pop out. Link thinks these are unnecessary. After all, the flying skateboard is so small and its main function should be flying. Of course, it would be nice to carry a few small missiles, or replace them with micro-missiles. Things like machine guns and spikes are completely unnecessary and do not fit his combat positioning. All he needs is movement and flying. Norman, Stark Industries is building 3 new buildings using the new energy invented by Stark. I think we should buy one, Link said. Norman Osborn was stunned and asked, is it used as the new corporate headquarters? Yes, it's in Hell's Kitchen. Link said, the progress is good. It is estimated that it will be put into use in May next year. Then we will sell the current building. Because of the geographical location, it is estimated that we can save a lot of money. Lin, this is not about money, Norman Osborn reminded. Of course I know, but my idea is this: I plan to build a supercomputer using artificial intelligence. Link said, I plan to make the top floor my residence and concentrate the research and development department here. And arrange a small automatic factory. These are the things I use. Of course, you will still be in charge of the management. I developed all those drugs. Link suddenly lowered his voice and said in the other person's ear. Norman Osborn was stunned, then looked at Link in surprise and asked, Really? Do you need to test me? Link smiled. In the future, whether it's medicine or weapons, I need to research and develop them, but this matter must be kept secret for the time being. Do you understand? Now I need the Osborn Group to become stronger. As the CEO, all you need to do is run the business well. By then, artificial intelligence will supervise the entire building, and Richard Parker's incident will never happen again. His identity must be extraordinary. I think he is from the CIA, so we still have to be on guard. Norman Osborn nodded slightly and said, I have my doubts too. They will only run abroad after the CIA succeeds. They are stronger abroad, these greedy guys. Indeed, it's greedy. Link nodded. Also, the original building was built too early, and many technologies were not used. If it is renovated, it will also cost a lot of money. It's better to just sell it. Of course, you can keep it if you want. No need. Norman Osborn shook his head. It's not bad to have something better. If you are really a genius, then I am willing to rebuild a building for you. We are a technology group, but my level is limited. I am no longer able to do it. From now on, I will not be responsible for R&D and will leave it to you. Link smiled. This Norman Osborn was really decisive enough, so he said, Don't worry, I said I would make your shares more valuable. After the stock price goes up, we will immediately select suitable shareholders. Of course. Norman Osborn was now relatively relaxed, and was also very surprised that the special medicine was actually researched by Link, which really shocked him. However, this matter still needs to be kept confidential. He doesn't plan to tell anyone else. The key is to observe whether it is true. Because it was too unbelievable, he investigated Link, who studied psychology and had a reputation in the underground world. Of course, he was a policeman after all. Link didn't know what Norman Osborn was thinking. He got on the skateboard directly and then flew up, from low altitude to high altitude, and soon mastered the flying skateboard. However, Link was not very satisfied. This thing was not flexible enough and the user needed to maintain a strange posture, somewhat like a flying crab. Link plans to modify it himself to suit his own combat needs. After all, his current performance is like that of a sharpshooter, and of course he can fight against Black Widow on equal terms. That's all the fighting power he has shown. He can add a flying skateboard to increase his flying ability, and after making the battle suit, he can directly give it to the Osborn Group. After all, this is a technology group, and Link is just covering up for himself. The more cover he has, the safer his and Jessica's secrets will be. There is no information about Asgard now. It should be about 2 years from the time Thor returned to Asgard to the time Loki led the Chitauri to attack. Time is still quite tight. Next, he needs to complete the creation of artificial intelligence, combat suit, and flying skateboard. Time is a bit tight, after all, the key lies in nanotechnology. What if skateboards were also nanotechnology? Chapter 78 Interview. The super brain is not so good either. Once his thoughts start to spread, he really can't stop. He even thinks that flying may not require a skateboard. Maybe the Falcon's flight equipment will be more suitable? Not necessarily. Link doesn't like that pair of wings. Okay, this skateboard has a lot of shortcomings. I will try to improve it, but I need a studio. Link said, I'll talk to Stark Industries. The building they have in Hell's Kitchen is the fastest, so it won't be a problem to just buy it. Okay, I'll keep an eye on the medicines. Norman Osborn and Link divided the work. Link contacted Pepper Potts, and the two met in New York at the United Construction Company. Pepper, long time no see. Link hugged and kissed her before separating. You've really surprised everyone recently. You actually acquired the Osborn Group. Pepper said. I'm good at this. I shorted the Hammer Group before, but they have the military behind them and they managed to survive. I can only look for new targets. What Link said was of course not true. He didn't want to take over the Hammer Group because that group didn't have much background. If it hadn't been for the conflict of interest with the military, it would have been torn apart long ago, and Link was just making an excuse by saying so. He was a prophet and knew that since Norman Osborn was willing to cooperate, he would naturally not let go of the Osborn group. Pepper admires Link very much. After all, Link does have abilities, which is good for Tony Stark. What do you want to talk to me about today? Pepper asked. Among several buildings of Stark Industries, I hope to purchase the one in Hell's Kitchen and make some modifications to its original design. Link said, I want to use this building as the headquarters of the Osborn Group. After the stock price goes up, I also hope to obtain the weapons department of Stark Industries. After listening to this, Pepper did not agree immediately, but started to think about it. First of all, there is no problem with the buildings. The 4 buildings are mainly for the use of new energy. The effect of selling them is the same as renting them out. If the Osborn Group purchases one building, the value of subsequent buildings will inevitably increase. Next is the weapons department, which has been closed, but no processing has been done yet, and at the same time Stark Industries' focus has shifted to New York. Dealing with it now is a problem, and with the large number of employees, it is also a headache for her. The building can be sold to you. Pepper then said with a smile, what about the weapons department? My idea is that after the special medicine is launched on the market, the stock price will definitely increase, and Stark Industries will invest in it through the weapons department. Link said, I can give you 15 to 20% of the shares. Pepper nodded and said, this is a good idea, but now there is a problem, that is, whether Tony will agree. Link was stunned and asked, you are the CEO now? Yes, but I respect Tony. I need to ask him what he thinks. After all, he closed the weapons department. If we use the weapons department to acquire shares in Osborn Group, would this go against his wishes? Link understood what Pepper meant. She agreed. However, Stark's ideas must also be respected. Link nodded and said, of course, you can ask him. I'll ask now. Pepper took out the phone and called Tony Stark. After the call was connected, Pepper told the story again, and then there was silence on the other end of the phone, but it didn't last long. Tony Stark soon made a decision and he agreed. After Pepper hung up the phone, she smiled and said, Tony agreed. He thinks you are not someone who abuses weapons. After all, weapons still have to be produced by someone. Link nodded slightly and said in agreement, it seems that he has figured it out. After all, weapons will not disappear. They have existed since the birth of mankind. Then I wish us a pleasant cooperation. It's a pleasure working with you. Pepper shook hands with Link, and then the two of them attended a meeting at the United Construction Company. The reason for meeting here is because the United Construction Company also has a meeting, which was also convened by Link. The purpose is to acquire shares in United Construction Company under the name of Osborn Group. Wilson Fisk was very happy. Even though Link was a major shareholder of the Osborn Group and the current stock price of the Osborn Group was extremely low. However, it was established for quite some time and was very powerful before. Now that Link has taken over, I believe the situation will be turned around quickly. Others don't believe it, but Fisk does. However, the Osborn Group currently has limited funds and can only purchase 5% of the shares. In this way, together with the shares held by the Jessica Charitable Foundation, the total share is only 13%. Fisker does not plan to sell shares again, but plans to wait until the stock price rises after a period of development, and then look for a group of capable partners. Making money and gaining more allies, the current situation is the best for him. The only pity is that he is temporarily unable to invest in other projects. Link then went to look at the blueprints of the building, which had a similar appearance to the Stark Tower. Link was not going to change it because he liked the rooftop terrace and flying platform the most. The font of Stark will be changed to Osborn, which needs to be redesigned. At the same time, Link needs a small automatic factory, with the top layer facing down, occupying the middle position. He will discuss this directly with Stark. At the same time, a supercomputer will be placed in the building, and Link plans to place it underground for the convenience of cooling and security. Like holographic projection, intelligent control, and so on, the entire building will have a layer of intelligent security system. Of course, there will not be only one security system. Link does not want S.H.I.E.L.D. to be able to enter and leave his territory at will. The Osborn Group was short of money at the moment, so Link purchased it with his own money to serve as the headquarters of the Osborn Group. The Osborn Group will pay him rent and wait until the funds are relieved before purchasing. Otherwise, it will have to raise funds. Norman Osborn does not have much money and his shares will be diluted. The building was then divided into two parts, the upper part was all laboratories, and the lower part was all administrative areas. This time the security of the laboratory was strengthened, which was also agreed by Norman Osborn. He had suffered a great loss, so this time all the experimental departments were placed there to directly strengthen the security force. Of course, this would also help him manage the Osborn Group without being influenced by Link, the chairman. For now, there are only two of them on the board of directors, so some things can be settled with just one phone call, but what if there are more directors in the future? Chapter 79 A Flash of Inspiration. The building is not completed yet, so Osborn Group cannot move now, and Link does not have his own laboratory and automatic factory, so he has nothing to do now. He was quiet, but Norman Osborn became busy. He only rested for one day, and then began to focus on the testing of special drugs and actively communicated with the regulatory authorities. The scale of the biological experiment was not small. Because his genetic disease was cured by the injection developed by Link, he trusted Link very much, so he directly conducted large-scale experiments. Trading quantity for time, once the test quantity is reached, the sorted data is submitted. Moreover, he released the test data and results to the media, which were very successful. Some media even suspected that the Osborn Group had committed fraud, but Norman Osborn had completed the patent application for the special medicine and announced that he welcomed third-party institutions to participate in the testing, and the Osborn Group could provide samples. Now the media has nothing to say. People don't care about the testing of third-party agencies at all. It would be better if they are willing to join in. As for the regulatory committee, the approval process was very quick due to Norman Osborn's lobbying. Lobbying is a unique way of the Western world. It involves spending money and effort to give indirect benefits to those in the regulatory committee, so naturally they get the green light all the way. This is a very common phenomenon, so the Osborn Group started human experiments. This time the experiment was conducted in a hospital in Hell's Kitchen, where there are many poor people who cannot afford medical treatment and are willing to receive free treatment. As a legal guarantee for human experimentation, the law firm of Jessica Charitable Foundation will provide free legal aid to patients participating in the experiments. In addition, Norman Osborn invited the media to come, and several media outlets could conduct follow-up interviews, filming, and special reports. After all, it was quite rare to conduct human tests on more than a dozen special drugs at the same time. At the same time, the diseases targeted are still medical headaches, but now there are specific medicines, and different courses of treatment can cure them according to the severity of the disease. This is good news for many patients, so the program and reports are also very popular. Many patients or their families, as well as people who care about medical care and worry about their own illness are a fixed audience group. The daily program is not very long. After all, treatment requires a process. As long as they see the patients recovering little by little, it gives them enough confidence. There are more than a dozen special medicines, and each one requires a lot of patience. Moreover, 3 consecutive phases of testing are required, which means the number is even greater, but the patients are still not small. They were all poor people. After their identities and background checks, Matthew Murdoch drafted a contract to protect the interests of the patients. Then, in the presence of the media, all the patients in the first phase signed the contract. Fortunately, the hospital has expanded, otherwise it would not be able to accommodate so many people. People with the same illness are concentrated together and all need comprehensive examinations to prevent other diseases. Everyone's medical records need to be written clearly. After all, some people do not have a single disease and require comprehensive consideration of treatment plans. Such comprehensive preparations really excited the audience, because with such a tight arrangement and even media supervision, they can see the patient's conditions every day, which cannot be faked. This proved that the Osborn Group was confident in human experiments, and under such circumstances, the first phase of experiments was launched. Link also made an appointment with Jessica every day to watch the show and learn about the progress of the first experiment. "My dear, your medicine is very effective," Jessica said. The patients in the first stage were specially selected with different severity of illness. The mildest ones have shown obvious improvement. After the first course of treatment, there is hope that they will recover. Jessica is in charge of the foundation and has a very detailed understanding of the treatment process. She really likes to get to the bottom of things. Link smiled. He developed the medicine himself, so he naturally knew the efficacy. After the first batch recovers, let them continue to be observed in the hospital for at least 3 weeks. This is written in the contract. Let Matthew remind these people not to just run away thinking that everything is fine. This is very important to the Osborne Group. These people are poor and uneducated. Once they are cured, all kinds of situations will occur. Let Fisk increase the security level and notify the media to report this situation. Jessica was stunned at first, but then she understood. These people had no medical insurance, and their diseases were difficult to treat, so they could only rely on medication to maintain their health. Now that they have been cured, they might just run away. Many of them need to work, or even commit crimes. Who will be responsible if something goes wrong? I understand. I will remind them. Why don't you go and take a look? Jessica asked. After all, you are the boss of the foundation. No, I'm not suitable for frequent appearances. For the time being, I need some mystery. Link said, you know, I'm an agent of SHIELD. Although I don't have many missions right now, it's not good to be exposed too much. There are no reports or photos of me outside yet, so it's still relatively secret for now. When I become an Avenger in the future, my exposure will definitely increase greatly. However, by that time, the new headquarters of the Osborne Group will be completed, and I can just live and work there. This is a really good idea. He can bask in the sun at a higher position, live and work together, and do whatever he wants. He can also create some equipment he wants, especially the nano-combat suits in the future, which can be made in automatic factories. Link is not idle now. He has been thinking about the improvement of the flying skateboard. He has thought a lot about the design, but none of them are ideal. Jessica watched Link finish his words, and suddenly she didn't know what she was thinking. She immediately hugged his head and kissed him on the cheek. My dear, what are you thinking about? Jessica asked. Oh, I'm thinking about the design of the flying skateboard, but I don't have any idea. If it's too big, it won't be good. It doesn't fit my position. Link said, I'm not the main force. Jessica didn't understand why the main force was not here. She said, if there really are aliens, then how are they designed? Link had a flash of inspiration, and then he laughed, my dear, you are really smart. Why didn't I think of it? Hey! Jessica was stunned, and then she saw Link stand up, pick up his laptop and run to the study. Jessica rolled her eyes. Her boyfriend began to develop into a scientist and started working in a crazy way. And Link did think of the alien spaceship. The Predator's fighter plane looks like a skateboard, and the special layout of its wings makes it extremely flexible. Chapter 80 Group Development. Link wasn't quite sure what the Predator's fighter was called. Its main wing extended to both sides, and then each branched into 3 small wings. There are 2 jets under the main wing, a thruster behind it, and jets on the small wings. So many power jets make it very flexible. Link can completely manufacture a flying skateboard in this way. Of course, because there is no joystick, artificial intelligence is needed to assist in flying. This is not bad, and it can be regarded as a reference for the future construction of spacecraft. The overall appearance of this Predator fighter is actually more like a swallow, so it is reasonable to borrow the shape of the swallow to build a flying skateboard. Link quickly invested in research and development. The next day, Jessica went to remind Norman Osborn and Wilson Fisk to pay attention to those who had been cured and not let them leave directly. They must go through an observation period, and they need to come back for regular check UPS. Of course, check UPS are probably very difficult, and they might get sick again in the future and come back to see you. However, everyone took it seriously, especially Matthew Murdoch. Although he sympathized with these poor people, the contract had already been signed, and if these people ran away, it would be a violation of the contract. Not to mention Norman Osborn, Wilson Fisk alone is not a good person. If you really make him angry, you'll be dead. This guy will definitely kill people. So, Matthew Murdoch began to go to the hospital frequently, asking about the treatment procedures and constantly reiterating the legal responsibilities of both parties. In this case, the first phase of treatment is completed, and with observation, the cured patients pass the observation period and gradually begin to be discharged from the hospital. The audience who had been following the program were full of expectations for the miracle drug, and many even called for it to be immediately put on the market, and the share price of Osborne Group began to rise continuously. Many investors are looking to buy stocks, but they are not available on the stock market for the time being. Link and Norman Osborn have acquired a lot of them before, and they can't hold on to them forever. After all, there are requirements for circulating shares. The Osborne Group almost went bankrupt before, so now they can wait for a while, but not for long. Link decided to release 10 million shares into the stock market first, but not all at once, but to gradually increase the price. If you release them all at once, you will lose money, so you need to release them slowly, allowing the circulating shares to slowly flow back into the stock market. Starting from the second phase, the same process is followed, and treatment begins after the case is completed. At the same time, individual patients in the first phase return to the hospital for regular follow-up examinations. In this case, by the end of the third season, it was the end of 2010, and Link had perfected the design of the flying skateboard. It snowed heavily in New York. The share price of Osborne Group broke through the 100 billion mark. More than a dozen special effect drugs began to be produced and orders were accepted. Their main sales were not in the United States, but abroad. Especially in the big Eastern countries, products are exported at low prices, and even with tax increases, the prices are not expensive. And Link is actively promoting entry into the medical insurance system. The price could be even cheaper, as Link was selling at a low profit and high volume. The acquired building had already been built, so Link and Norman Osborn decided to move in immediately. At the same time, the original Osborne Group building was sold, and the proceeds from the sale were used to repay Link. The top floor of the new building is not completely open like Tony Stark's. The balcony outside is like the helipad, but the interior is in a different style. The living room, kitchen, and dining room are completely open, but the study, bedroom, guest room, toilet, bathroom, and other home functions are designed. The floor below is the automatic factory, which is completely enclosed and has only one staircase as an entrance. One must go down from the top floor to enter, and all elevators skip this floor. Link does not need to build the Iron Man armor, he only needs to build a flying skateboard and a battlesuit. He has been designing it during this period. The flying skateboard is going very smoothly. He even got a cold nuclear fusion reactor built with new elements provided by Tony Stark. In addition, Link also completed the design of nanotechnology, and Link suddenly realized that since he had nanotechnology, why did he still need to wear a tight combat suit? He doesn't fight with his fists, but with weapons, guns, and throwing knives, so there is no need to stick to the Superman costume. New inspiration came, but Link still completed the relocation of the group headquarters first. The entire upper part was a laboratory, and Link was responsible for this aspect. Link began to examine all research projects. He quickly selected those with a chance of success, and then formed R&D teams and assigned laboratories to them. If there is no hope at all, or the R&D direction is wrong, it will be cancelled directly, and he will be responsible for assigning tasks. Of course, this was done in secret, with Norman Osborn in between, so why didn't Link come forward himself, or do his own research? On the one hand, it was for the sake of confidentiality. Link didn't want to expose himself too early. After all, this matter sounded reliable and it was easy for people to suspect something. On the other hand, the Osborne Group is now in the limelight. With the sales of drugs and more cured patients, the stock price of the Osborne Group has continued to rise, directly reaching $200 billion. It is not the pharmaceutical group with the highest market value. However, this share was already very good, and then Link immediately contacted Pepper Potts, and the weapons department of Stark Group was merged into Osborne Group, and Stark Industries acquired shares through this. However, this weapons department only includes production plants and research and development laboratories, and does not include weapons developed by Stark Industries in the past. The production rights of these weapons are in the hands of the military, otherwise the price would not be this high. Stark Industries holds 20% of the shares of Osborne Group, which is worth $40 billion. Link's share was reduced to 52%, Norman Osborn held 20%, and the remaining 8% flowed into the stock market as circulating shares. This is the temporary equity structure. If more shareholders are to join in the future, it will have to be discussed at that time. And Link will not reduce his shares again. The Weapons Research and Development Department has been reduced at this time because Tony Stark closed it down, so a large number of researchers were lost, but the laboratories and equipment are still there. The production department is temporarily intact. Norman Osborn lobbied the military and obtained some production shares. The military also hopes to continue to maintain these weapons production factories. After all, they are all top-notch equipment and workers. After Link dealt with these things, he finally began the final improvements. End of this chapter. Like and subscribe for videos like this.